All right, all right, all right. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back to the Real Precious. It's been a while, y'all. It's been a while. It has been a while. The schedule has been crazy. I just got back off of a mini vacation, so it's been a little crazy, but I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Sean, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Like I said, I just got back from like a mini vacation with the family. Very, 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 very good trip. Definitely was needed for all of us. We was deep too. It was like 25 of us.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, we took a trip to Minneapolis and we had a good time. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I'm grateful as well. I just came back. As you know, my daughter was proposed to. I'm actually on my other phone in my talking to one of my good friends. We're speaking about the aftermath because after her proposal, her and I had a disconnect. The following day. Yes, and I'm discussing that, but I understand it. We'll get to that. I'll get to that in another podcast.
Okay, well, I mean, I hope it goes well. Um, occasions bring out a lot of emotions, no matter what type of occasion, whether it's a wedding, a proposal, unfortunately, deaths, marriages, all that stuff, divorces, all of that brings out emotions in everyone. Everyone's emotions are heightened around those times. So I hope everything works out for you guys and you can work it out
Well,
because you
thank
are
you.
the father of the bride, Sean.
You sound like my friend on my left there. She's saying the same thing. You're the father, and you need to. And I'm like, okay, I understand, but you probably know better than most. No, she knows as well. I stand on the principles of everybody being accountable for what it is that they do,
Mm-hmm.
and I often, as the father, ignore a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and when I address it sometimes might be the wrong time. So I admit that. But it still needs to be addressed nonetheless.
Right. Well, timing is everything. So it's good that you can admit that maybe it's, the wrong time. I always remember our pain when he said that, he was going to send his daughter a text message and then he thought about how she would react to that message and he didn't send it. We all have to have that type of awareness, right? We got to have that awareness. So I hope everything works out. It is
Absolutely. Thank you.
special time for all of you guys, not just for her. A lot of people reserve that day. A lot of brides are like, it's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me. And while it's about her, it's not all about her. Two families are coming together, and so you want that union to be a good one, a nice one that can mesh well pretty smoothly. So all the best wishes to you guys. For those who are joining, thank you for joining. Definitely like the video, like this stream. You go outside of the live chat, you'll see the thumbs up button. So definitely like it. For those who are watching the restream, definitely hit the like button. Hit the don't like button. It's up to you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but to engage the algorithm, we do want people to know that we are live having this conversation. You guys know that I always drop the link so anyone can join the conversation. I do have to see your face in the backstage first before you're on the actual stage. So don't be shy. Definitely join the discussion tonight. We have a few topics. I think a couple of guys are going to join us. If not, like I said, I do drop the link for you guys to join at your leisure. So definitely join the conversation. And y'all already know what to do in the chat. Y'all always keep the chat live. So I appreciate you guys. Tarika's in the building. Evening, everyone. We are back. Yes, we are. Please hit the like button as you come in. Yes, definitely hit that like button. Christopher Sterling, I see you. Good evening, all. Good evening to you, sir. Jeffrey, good evening, good peoples. Back to Monday night streams. Yes. My schedule right now is all over the place, folks, but I'm trying to continue to be consistent with YouTube. I'm trying to consistently put out content, but I appreciate you guys for being malleable with me and being able to, stick in there with me. Jeffrey, giving some shout outs in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I appreciate you putting that one in the chat saying that you can hear me. Harrison Davis, I see you in the chat. Salute to you. Thank you for being here. And Sean is also giving you guys some love in the chat as well. So we have a few videos we're going to get to tonight. Tonight's live is called The Woman You Don't Want, or excuse me, The Woman You Want Doesn't Exist. Is she worth the work? To those watching on Facebook, thank you as well. Sometimes I forget to thank y'all because y'all all the way over on Facebook, but I appreciate y'all from watching for Facebook. Definitely interact in the chat. I would appreciate that. All right, so we're going to get into this first video. I saw this video and I wanted to bring it to the men's panel to get you guys' perspective. I always, this is the men's panel. However, we can have more than men on the panel. I try to make that clear. This is the men's panel to get the men's perspective. But we also do not mind if women join us on the panel as well. All perspectives are needed. However, the men's perspective, I believe, sometimes is just not heard as clear as the woman's perspective, as we see all over YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, any social platform, you name it. We always see women going back and forth. And we do see men now. You have some men creators who pander to men. You have some men creators who just want to bash women. But over here on The Real Precious, we like to keep it real. So I like to have that real man's perspective. And for those of you in the chat or whoever's watching, again, if you want to join, definitely hit the link when I drop it and you're more than welcome. Y'all know I don't do drama. So keep that for your mama. Okay? Don't bring it over here. Arpain, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing fine. It warmed my heart to be a real man tonight.
You're a real man everywhere.
How you doing? I'm doing okay. I'm doing
good. It's good to see you. It's been a while, so I'm glad you guys.
Hey, what's going on, Sean? Yeah, I was having a good time. You and wife are hanging out for the 37th. So,
congratulations!
Congratulations!
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you're officially at 37 years.
Yeah, officially at 37. Yeah.
Wow. Congrats.
Yes.
We have a good time. So we were out since the 21st. Our date is the 22nd. And so we just spent, we just got back yesterday. And today I was supposed to have my show, but I didn't even want to prepare. So I was off tonight. But this show came up. We're cool. We're back home. So everything is cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you, Arpain, for allotting some time for us over here on The Real Precious. We appreciate
you're doing me a favor. You're doing me a favor, sir. Thank you.
Well, welcome back. You got some congratulations in the chat. Darnell, good to see you in the chat. Terrace, thank you for being here. That's my cousin. Y'all give Terrace a shout out. I was with him this weekend amongst other family. All right, so we're gonna get into it again. Whoever joins. But this first video that I saw, this man said he got married out of convenience, and I thought the video was interesting. It's a group of women, one woman in particular, reading the actual, entry that he put in. And I want to get you guys' perspective on it. Y'all in the chat definitely chime in as well.
I'm married is not the woman I have loved the most.
Right. What the f is going on?
I've been with my wife for 14 years. She's an amazing spouse, partner, mother, and I'm happy with the beautiful family we've made. That being said, my one true love is a woman I was with right before I met my wife. This woman and I dated for 3 years. She changed my life. She introduced me to so much. She was the only person I trusted enough to pour my heart to. Even my wife, I can't do this with. She was my perfect match, compatible in every way. No one has made me laugh like her, made me feel pure, unadulterated happiness as much as she has. And I've never been with a lover that I felt as physical and emotionally connected as I am with her. If there are soulmates, she was mine. The short time we were together, we planned out our lives together forever. Unfortunately, she needed to leave the country. Her parents were in an accident that killed her father, leaving her mother in need of care. I was serving in the military, fresh out of college, and I couldn't go with her. We tried to make it work, but it became clear we wouldn't be together for at least another 3 years. She became more withdrawn after the accident and resented me for not being able to be with her. I could feel the separation was slowly destroying us, so I set her free. The best thing for the both of us. Don't think I'll ever forget our time together. As much as I love my wife, I know the love between us is not as real as me and my ex. I married my wife out of convenience. And
because, hey! And yo! This is horrible!
a few years back, I got in contact with my ex again. She's married too with kids, but she's also never forgotten and is still in love with me and wishes things could have been different.
Ah, that's very fucking sad.
That's that's fear. That's
so
a
sad.
fear, bro. Could you imagine? Like, could you actually imagine, like he's basically saying, yeah, my wife's great and all, like, she gave me kids, she gave me a family, she gave me a future, but I like this babe. That's what he's basically saying.
Enough.
And
It's
back
like-
to
Yeah.
the whole topic today is you really can't trust anybody.
No, you can't trust anyone.
You just can't fall in love.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It's not safe out there.
Well, as this is not what I've been saying, men only have one love. They,
True
men,
love. I
it's one
agreed
true
with
love.
you. I agreed with you
I
that
think they
day.
only have one true love.
Yeah. me
Yeah.
too.
There's
It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the fault of love. Original love.
All right. So she thinks that men only have one true love. The man that married the woman said he married her out of convenience and that the woman that he was truly in love with had to move away. There was an accident in her family. She had to move away, but she eventually got married as well. I wanted to ask you guys, married out of convenience, is that truly a thing? Do men get married out of convenience?
Smart ones do.
Oh, jeez.
I think it goes two ways sometimes. The convenience of a marriage is often overlooked because of the love and romance that it initially starts with. But marriage, if we go biblical, the Lord created Eve to make a convenience so they could be interdependent. It wasn't about the love. It wasn't about how you felt. It was about the convenience of having somebody who you could rely on consistently and they can rely on you consistently. So if we just boil it down to those principles that originally started quote unquote marriage and or relationships, etc. Relationships is what we'll call it. It was really made for convenience. It wasn't made for all of the feelings that come along with those conveniences, in my opinion.
Okay, convenience. I don't know. I think that God wants us to be with people that are suitable for us. But Arpine, go ahead. I just wanted to say that a little bit. Go ahead,
Well,
Arpine.
you know, I mean, I think people get married for all kinds of reasons. It's not just men, women do, men do. Convenience could be one of them. They might not be the best marriages. I think we know that people got married out of duty to the family, duty to bringing families together. So, and then love came later on. But just getting back to, I mean, if you want to just get back to this whole thing about this guy and the girl and the lady that left, let me tell you, if maybe they were young, but if you think about a course of being with somebody that's just so enamored with, and they're equally enamored with you, and you want to be together, 3 years is nothing. If you're talking about a lifetime, 3 years is nothing. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, over these 3 years, when I'm free, I'm going to come out there. We're going to stay in touch. We're going to do this. We're going to make it work. So the fact that they couldn't even last 3 years with a little bit of that going on, separation, they didn't really know what they had. They're just talking. You know, that's how I look at it. But if I pity his other wife, she should not. If she ever hears this, she should divorce him.
Other wife.
Yeah, I mean the wife that he met. I mean, how you gonna say the actual wife? Exactly.
His actual wife, yeah.
The actual wife. I mean, you know, I mean, I know this is just for discussion, but it sounds terrible. For him to be able to express that freely to anybody. it begs the question what kind of relationship he has with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. So let me ask you this. So it does sound terrible. I agree with you. But it's the truth. Now, to your point, I think that the only reason why it's the truth is because they are remembering blissful, almost honeymoon phases of a relationship. And so they're not really taking the totality of what could have happened or what would have happened. And to your point, when they separated and couldn't endure that, then the likelihood of if they would have stayed together, a lot of the feelings that they're speaking to would have changed. So they're still going in those blissful moments, which everybody has. Newness is blissful. Newness is exciting. Newness is the ultimate epitome of everything. It's after you get through that newness. I used to call it new P or new D. After you get through that new P or D and you get over all of those feelings, where do you stand? And they never got to that place to even entertain that. They're still living through, it's kind of like one of my good friends, she lost her husband in their first years of marriage. So she became a widow in their blissful years. And she's a person who helped me understand and embrace the institution of marriage, because she was the first person I heard who spoke of marriage in such a blissful way, in such a wonderful way all the time. And I had to reflect and think, wow, well, I understand it, because she had no memories other than the blissful memories that the marriage produced, the children that produced in those years she had with her husband before he unfortunately passed. And so with all that said, it goes back to understanding the totality of it before you make any of those statements that man made that sounded so horrible, because they are horrible, because he's not even taking into consideration all of the time that he and his current wife has taken, all of the sacrifice that they have done with one another. He's just going on that feeling that he felt when he was just in bliss with that other lady.
Yeah, but even with your example about the lady whose husband passed away. But listen, getting married based on infatuation is not a good thing either.
Right.
So I mean,
right.
Let me just finish. I think that, I think when you do get married, there's a little bit of all of this stuff that's in there. But if you just focus on one thing, like just infatuation, because we know infatuation is fleeting after the real life happens, those people could keep their lives together blissful longer based on how they treat each other and talk to each other, and everything is their willingness to make things new. I mean, it's going to always wear off after a certain period of time. First crisis, first baby, first this, that. So I don't know. I just think when we try to put a single point on why people get married, we could come up with pros and cons on all of that stuff. I think, I think we could, if that was the conversation.
I'm going to play it again, but before I do you guys think situations like this is why people are scared to be in love? Because someone can be married to someone but be in love with somebody else?
Sure.
I think it is a factor. Me personally, I would prefer to know if you're in love with someone else. And I think that a lot of the separation is that people really can't handle whatever the reality or the truth is. Now, if in fact that was a truth, and he was expressing it to her as opposed to on this open forum, they might be able to have a better discussion and a better understanding of why, where, how, and when. And they might be able to conclude and appreciate some of the attributes that they actually have at hand, as opposed to just looking at what they are missing. And to your point, I think, yes, it does create scary scenarios, but the root of it is because they're looking at what they don't have as opposed to appreciating what they do.
So if you finish me, just to answer your question, why I see it, and I say this a lot on these panels, I tell guys, if you're going to get married, you have to have a reasonable assuredness that your wife chooses you as her number one choice. You have to be, if you have your vetting process, that's got to be one of the things on the list. Now, you're never going to be 100% with anybody, but just for that specific reason, you have to be sure that when she looks at you, she's made the choice and she's no longer looking.
So
And
how is it sure of that, Arpine? Because we're gonna play another video of a guy where he's like, "Well, I have a roster," but how is a man sure that that woman thinks that he's the one?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if you want to wait for, if you want to wait or you want the answer now.
No, go ahead.
Well, the point really is, like I said, you never have 100% assuredness. You have to. For me, I connected to my wife when we were just in the courting phase, right? I noticed how she moved. Like, for example, just little simple things. When I first started dating with her, she would get a phone call here and there because she had a life before me. All that shit stopped. She never came and said, "Well, I got this guy, best friend I need to talk to," and all that was gone. It was gone. And it's kind of funny. Even during our anniversary this week, she sat down and said, "Listen, the reason why I cleave to you so much is something happened to me. I never was like that before." She told me that just a couple of days ago. She said, "I knew that the way we interacted, I never did that with anybody else." And I had the same thing. She said, so it was clear sailing. And maybe I was just lucky or just blessed, however you want to look at it. But I kind of knew that I was for her and she was for me. And we didn't waste no time about it. I was pretty much celibate for almost 6 months to 9 months before I met her because I was looking for a wife. So I had to have a clear head. And when she popped up, we just click, boom, boom, boom. And so I don't know if that happens for everybody, but it happens for me. But somehow you have to have your spirit right in order to recognize the person, to see him. That's what I think.
Wow. You said a whole lot. Yeah, you said a whole lot in there, and I commend you. And it lends to why you have 37 years of marriage. You said a whole lot, yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't value the things that you said. A lot of people, it could be, here's the issue to your point, Precious, nowadays, is that at our ages, now, as opposed to then, each person has a lot more experience. So finding someone who hasn't had a love of their life, or who hasn't had some experience that might lend to those things, becomes a little bit more challenging. And so you have to understand that, because I might have had a love of my life, my person might have had my future wife might have had a love of her life. And to Payne's point, yes, when we choose to be with one another, we need to be the number one choice of each other's lives at that moment. But does that negate the fact that they had a love of their life prior to us, and that feeling is absent? Probably not. And the way I feel, the reason why I said I would want to know, because I would respect a person more when they can share those details and those feelings or those sentiments with me while we're moving forward, and we can talk and move forward. Because I expect and understand that, yes, you should have had the love of your life. You should have had some great times and some disappointments. So being able to admit that is partially what I find is the most difficult thing to find. Somebody who's honest enough to admit it, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't think it's politically correct. They don't, you got to be open and honest and transparent.
Can I just respond to that real quick? It's funny that you said that about her past. My wife went to college. She went to Dayton. Just like anybody who goes to college, just like me, I didn't expect her to come out on the other side pure as snow, right? So she wanted to tell me what you just said, Sean. She wanted to, say whatever her experiences were. I stopped and said, I don't want to know none of that shit. I don't want to know. I said, we're moving from here to there, but because I knew what kind of, she never gave me 304 vibes. So, but I'm sure she had a love for her too. I'm sure. I mean, we're in the West. I mean, you'd be a fool to think that you're going to get a woman at a certain age and she never been touched before. So,
Your wife is beautiful.
huh?
I saying your wife is beautiful. I'm not saying that that's a reason, but I'm sure she didn't have no problem pulling, you know.
Yeah, she did. I mean, thank you. I really, so that was, I said that was in the past, and we were willing to go past that, because women never asked men about their experiences, and we're different. That's one of the way we're different. They expect us to have a little bit more experience, and like I told my wife, I said, if you learn some shit, you better make sure I get the benefits of it. And we moved. I swear, I'm not lying, and we never talked about that again. We just moved forward, so.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Hank. How are you?
Well, how you doing? My name is Hank, and I don't think I've met you before. I'm glad to be on the show.
I know it's been a while.
So unfamiliar. I'm not familiar with what goes on up there, so I have to reintroduce myself.
Welcome back, Hank.
That's right. Welcome back. We back in this.
I'm actually going to replay this video that I played. I'm not quite sure if you saw it or not, the first video that we went over. But I do want to replay it just so we can re-listen for Sean and our pain. And this will be your first time listening. I do believe, we're not going to play it 3 times, but I do believe to gain the understanding of something, you should read or watch it 3 times. But we're just going to do, if we got to do it a 3rd time, we will. But I do want to play this again for you just to get your perspective on it. Okay. Where are we at?
The woman I married is not the woman I have loved the most.
Right. What the fuck's going on?
I've been with my wife for 14 years. She's an amazing spouse, partner, mother, and I'm happy with the beautiful family we've made. That being said, my one true love is a woman I was with right before I met my wife. This woman and I dated for 3 years. She changed my life. She introduced me to so much. She was the only person I trusted enough to pour my heart to. Even my wife, I can't do this with. She was my perfect match, compatible in every way. No one has made me laugh like her, made me feel pure, unadulterated happiness as much as she has. And I've never been with a lover that I felt as physical and emotionally connected as I am with her. If there are soulmates, she was mine. The short time we were together, we planned out our lives together forever. Unfortunately, she needed to leave the country. Her parents were in an accident that killed her father, leaving her mother in need of care. I was serving in the military, fresh out of college, and I couldn't go with her. We tried to make it work, but it became clear we wouldn't be together for at least another 3 years. She became more withdrawn after the accident and resented me for not being able to be with her. I could feel the separation was slowly destroying us, so I set her free. The best thing for the both of us. Don't think I'll ever forget our time together. As much as I love my wife, I know the love between us is not as real as me and my ex. I married my wife out of convenience.
Because, and yo, this is horrible.
A few years back, I got in contact with my ex again. She's married too with kids, but she's also never forgotten and is still in love with me and wishes things could have been different.
That's very fucking sad.
That's fear. That's a fear, bro. Could you imagine? Could you actually imagine, he's basically saying, yeah, my wife's great and all, she gave me kids, she gave me a family, she gave me a future, but I like this babe. That's what he's basically saying.
He's the whole topic today is you really can't trust anybody.
No, you can't trust anyone.
You just can't fall in love.
Yeah. It's scary.
It's not safe out there.
Well, as this is not what I've been saying, men only have one love.
True love. I agree with you. I agreed with you
I think they only have one true love.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the fault of love. Original love.
All right, Hank. So what's your perspective on that video? And Arpain and Sean, I know you guys gave your perspective before, but hopefully you got to hear something new that you didn't hear before on their relationship. But we're going to go to Hank. What's your perspective on it? Do you think men only have one love? And do you think this is why people are scared to be in love? Because you can be married to somebody, but in love with someone else?
Yeah, I think it happens a lot more than we want to talk about or admit. I think it does. People used to marry out of convenience a whole lot. I mean, look, when you got a woman pregnant back in a certain time period, you had no choice but to marry. You couldn't just let her just be out there and be a baby mama. You got her pregnant, now that's your wife. You gotta make an honest woman of them. That's what they used to say. I don't know if y'all remember that. I know all Payne's old ass do. You gotta make an honest woman of her. And you had to marry her. You got her pregnant, that's your wife. You're gonna get married to her. Either now or the next year or so, y'all gonna get married. Y'all gonna be together. And that's what it was. So I believe a lot of that was out of convenience. I'm sure that wasn't love and bliss and all the butterflies and horseshoes and rainbows. I'm sure it wasn't, because they had to do it out of convenience. Because why? I got this woman pregnant. We having a baby, so I got to make an honest woman out of her. Many times they did it. And is it still happening in 2024? Yeah. It's still happening. Now, it's maybe not as much, you know what I'm saying, and not as much as because now they don't have no problem with just dude don't want to be with the woman. He's not going to be with her. We just be baby mom. We'll be co-parenting. We'll figure this out. But all Payne, I heard what you said earlier, talking about you will wait 3 years. So you expect a man, I think he was saying he was fresh out of college in the military, wait 3 years while this woman's overseas. She's not in the country. She's overseas. She's not in the country where I could go take a 2-hour flight to see her. And I'm here in Kentucky. She's in Rhode Island somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Or she's out in California. No. She's overseas. She's out of country. Now, I got to make sure my passport is right. I got to go over there and make sure I get through customs. I don't know anybody over. I'm not familiar with the laws and maybe there's a language barrier I'm going to have to deal with. Nah, I'm not waiting. No young man that young, probably still well put together, fresh out of the military, out of college, all that potential there on the campuses, and think I'm going to be faithful. If I'm going to be real with her, I'm not going to be true to her. So no, he did right by letting her be and go on and do whatever happens. If it's meant to be, we'll find a way out to come back together and get together. But if it's not, then Lord be with her. Because I wouldn't recommend that for any young man to do some stuff like that. I told my son, dude, you need to go break up that girl, because you're going to get a fresh crop of chicks, man, on the campus, man. It's going to blow that old girlfriend out the water. They're going to be built different. They're going to talk different. They're going to act different. They're going to do things different. You don't want to hurt that girl's heart? Let her go. She's going on to a campus. She's going to see dudes that are built different, looking different, and talking different. Same with her. Y'all going to end up hurting each other's heart, because y'all going to think y'all going to try to make it. She's in Tennessee State. You her over at IUS. Yeah, that ain't going to work. Let her go. And so that's what he did. Because I said, look, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, when y'all get out of college, if things can work out, y'all get back together, so be it. But if not, then it wasn't meant to be. I wouldn't sit there and tell this man to wait 3 years and try to get with this woman. No, that makes no sense to me. I can't sit there and say he was going to be faithful. He's already shown he's not faithful with his goddamn wife now. He thinking about the other woman. He thinking about the woman he ain't had, he missed. So he shows he has the capability of stepping out, because mentally he's already cheated on his wife with sending that letter in, thinking about the way she does. Matter of fact, he even went further and calling the woman or reaching out. I don't even know if he called her. He reached out. He should have never did that shit. He should have never. That's a violation. Please believe me. As a man who cheated before on his ex-wife, yes, that's a violation. If that shit happened to me, I would have been pissed. If that woman found out, she'd be pissed. And he gave a lot of details that she could possibly find out who it is and who they talking to. He gave a lot of details, way too many details for me. He told her, I used to date her right prior to. So some women will go out there and do at Matlock, or Columbo work. Okay, his ex-girlfriend, he talked about it before. I've seen things before. I heard about this before. He gonna know exactly what. Oh, parents got sick, a traumatic thing that happened. She gonna put all that shit together and gonna figure it out. Hold on, who the hell are you writing at this place? Why are you writing into some anonymous Dear Annie? What's it? Dear Annie letter? Is that what they used to call? Oh, Payne, your old ass know. What's that they used to write it?
Yeah. Abby. Wasn't it Dear Abby? Was it Dear Abby?
Was it Dear Abby?
Dear Abby.
Yeah, why did Dear Abby led her to this talk show, telling all your business. Now I don't want to be with you no more. And he could probably lose his family if she figures this out. I don't know if she watches the same show he does. I don't know if that's the case. He just felt like he can do it, or he just don't care. Sound like he don't care. That's why he did it. We wrote the Dear Abby letter, even reached out to the woman. That's crazy, man. I can't agree with none of that at all that he did. But I'm gonna leave it there.
Oh, thank you. You was doing to me for a second there. Anyway.
I was in my all pain moment. I was in my all pain moment.
Oh man, man. Hey, but you missed the point where I said, man, maybe this guy was in the wrong phase of life for that 3-year thing. So I don't disagree with what you said. But the way he was going on and on about that, whatever way, I would say that it would have been more consistent if he would have tried to find a way to make that work, since he was so enamored with this chick. That distance wouldn't have mattered. I would have got a passport. I would have did all this. I would have did all that. If he would have said all that and tried to do that 3-year distance, I mean, in the context of a full, we're going to be together forever, 3 years is not a long time. So that's just the way I see it. But he was too young to see it from that perspective. So I agree with you there. So if they were a little older, maybe he would have said, hey, this is how we're going to make this work. But they wouldn't be able to fill those blanks in at his age. So I agree with you. So anyway, and listen, part of the conversation probably would have had to be, hey, every so often I'm gonna need a belly warmer, so, and she might have said the same thing back to him. And if that was a deal, then that's another thing that would have to be spoken, as opposed to assume that people are going to stay celibate for 3 years apart, so it's a different stroke for different folks in that matter. And there's some people who would say, okay, as long as we can meet back up once we get together. So I wouldn't agree to that, but some people might.
Well, what's interesting is that I agree with what him said, and I agree with what you said. But to the question that you asked, Precious, will it ruin a relationship? I think what ruins relationships is deception. And this is a telltale example of deception. And that's the reason why it will ruin it. It's not really about how he feels and what he thinks and all of that, although that factors into it. But the deception of him having these sentiments and then sharing it with the world, as opposed to sharing it with his wife, if he felt to share it at all, that should be the first person he should think to share it with, and let them kind of have a discussion about it. But unfortunately, he's seemingly being deceptive all the way around, and that's what really ruins relationships. It's not really always what you do, it's what you find out that was done.
So do you think that he should have broke it down to his wife that he was in love with another woman that moved out of the country, and so he moved on with his life, and now he married her and had kids, and they did their own thing? Like, do you say, yeah, I've been in love before and keep it at that? Or is it, I've been in love before and I'm still in love with her? Like, how do you have that conversation with your current wife?
Well, it's funny you asked that, Precious, because you are the author of Hot, Honest, Open, and Transparent.
Right.
If he said, yeah, I was in love before, he's being honest.
Right.
The key to that statement is open and transparency, which a lot of people remarkably gloss over in relationships. And that should have been something that was said at the start of his relationship. Yeah, I was in a relationship. She should already know that. So it wouldn't be a surprise.
So she would still already know that he's still in love with this woman that's overseas? Because it doesn't seem like he fell out of love with her.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, Sean is saying is, he should have told her before. He should have gave his wife the choice, knowing all the facts. I had another lady that I'm in love with. I think I still love her. So if you're gonna marry me, you have to understand that. I mean, he should have gave her the choice, but he didn't.
Do men really have these conversations? But this is the real.
No, the answer is no. Most men won't.
This is the
Most
real
definitely.
question. Do men really have those conversations?
No,
Precious,
not
yes,
really. I don't think.
yes. But let me say this: the consequence of it is that they'll probably be single like me. Because yes, I have had conversations like that, and unfortunately, it didn't always turn out well. But yes, I have had conversations like that.
Okay, so and you're saying that it didn't turn out well because you were so honest and open and transparent?
In my opinion, yes. But they might have a whole different, you know, it might have been a problem. I can't be with somebody who knows somebody else.
Sean, I don't mean to interrupt, but your sound quality just went out and went south.
Okay, yeah, give me a second. I'm going through that area.
Okay. I think if you're gonna have, I think you got to be this girl's friend. I think if these are the conversations that you want to have with a woman, you truly have to be her friend before y'all decide to get married, because a friend should love you through all things. A friend should love you at all times, right? If you're just trying to marry someone and maybe y'all just met and a year down the line you want to marry her, have you really built a friendship to the point where you can feel like you can tell each other any and everything? I think that's something that has to be told to someone that you have a firm foundation with. You can't tell, someone you met just recently and, you may like her and you may be trying to pursue a relationship with her and you try to see what she about. I think something like that has to be told on the grounds of a firm foundation. You have to have a firm foundation for that, because someone said in the comments, Shannon says, can women handle that conversation? A woman that is truly your friend can handle that conversation. That turns into, your lover can handle that conversation. But a woman that, like I said, you just met and it's not, you don't really have no strong ties there and y'all ain't been through nothing and, you don't really know each other. Those are the things you get to know while you're building that friendship. Thank you, Hank, so much for the Cash App. Go ahead, Sean.
I'm gonna say that's
Sean. We can hear you, but it sounds like you're far away.
Is it better like this?
Now you sound like a robot.
What did you do?
I'm driving, so I'm going through areas that might be challenging right now.
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it.
You can hear me better. I take that as a no. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Like I said, it just seems like you're far away. Let me see if I could do something on my end with your I can't even.
I will go out and come back in.
Okay. So what do you think about what I just said, Arpane, as far as letting a woman know? There's nothing wrong with being, I am an advocate for hot, honest, open, and transparent, right?
Yeah.
I've said that, I've given that acronym since day one of this platform.
Right.
But we have to be smart with our hotness. We have to be, I think honest, open, and transparent is what we strive to be with our significant others, with our parents, with our friends, with everyone that we encounter, right? We want to be honest, open, and transparent with them.
Okay.
But you also have to be realistic with the honest, open, and transparent. Some people aren't at a time where you can be necessarily open, but you can be honest with them. And you have to test that temperature of being open and transparent. I'm not saying don't get there. I'm saying that there may be a certain type of rhythm that you have to, get to in the relationship to get out that honest, open, and transparent, because everyone is not honest, open, and transparent right away, right up front. And I think it takes, for, like I said, a firm foundation, a friendship, for you to be able to tell that person any and everything without the condemnation, without the judgment, without the criticism, with someone that's just going to say, you know what? I take you as you are. You are my friend, and I accept this about you.
Yeah, but listen, this is the wife that he currently has. At some point, he had to court her, right? He had to talk to her. They had to get engaged. So he knew he had this woman in the back burner that he was so enamored with, and he still is now that they have, well, he's, I guess, a wife and kids. He didn't give her the opportunity to know that she's not his first choice. It's like if this woman would have popped up while we're married, you would have left me in a heartbeat to go back with her if she wanted me, right? It's what it sounds like. So he should have gave her he should have gave her the truth, whatever way he could have gave it to her, right? You don't have to give her the medicine all at once. But he was courting her and he was marrying her under false pretenses. If you ask me, the pretense of convenience is a false pretense, because unless she really understood already that she was just a convenience, but she probably was more enamored, or she was thinking something different. So I think he was kind of dishonest with her. And now here's the kicker. Depending on how much she wanted him, she might not have cared. Women do that. Men do that too. Men, especially men, those random male orbiters. If the chick who had him in the friend zone absolutely, says, listen, you know what? My choice ain't no good. I'm going to give you a shot. Man, those guys would be on a woman like knowing that they're not her first choice. So people do a lot of strange things, even with the truth, But at least she would have had a choice. And if she would have went on with that, then no harm done. She went with her eyes open, but I think he's being deceptive, and that's just how I take it. And it's a hard truth, but he should have gave her the opportunity to say, you know what, man, we could just smash, but I can't marry you under those circumstances.
So he just stays unmarried.
Yeah.
Because like you said at the beginning of the show, some men believe in marriage as a duty type of thing. So why people get married, right? So does he stay unmarried because this woman is out of the country and he loves her so much that he's never supposed to marry anyone else?
No, but the point is that he did break up with the chick, right? He let her go, right? I think that's what some of the stories.
The way that I interpreted that was she was in another country. He said that he felt her pulling away, and a lot of times men can't handle women pulling away from them. That's just not something that they can handle, if y'all want to keep it real. So he did what he thought was best, which I commend that, because there are some men who can't handle a woman pulling away and they will try and hold on to you with every might they have. And it's just like, why do that if it's not going to work in your favor? If it's not something that you're really going to fight for, if it's not something that you're really going to, obtain, like you said, Arpain, I would have got the passport. I would have went over there. I would have did what needed to be done to be with the person that I say that I'm truly in love with, right? But he chose to let her go and to move on with his life. And in moving on with his life, the reality is he truly loved this woman that's overseas. And it's almost like, in movies, how they play back with the character, and they're got the whole scene of the person that was with the ex, and it's just this lovey, lusty scene, and then they fast forward back to reality. It's like, all right,
did he really move on? He didn't see. To me, he moved on physically, but he didn't move on mentally, because
that's 90% of relationships today. I feel
what I'm saying is, so he really didn't move on. I mean, if he would have really moved on, he wouldn't be saying what he just said in his Dear Abby letter, quote unquote, right? Because it sounds like it's still real to him, right? To me.
You got a good point, and I think that they both, according to his, if it's a true letter, they both didn't move on,
right?
And that's something that you really can't predict one way or the other. And the circumstances of her pulling away, it's not about him not being able to take her. She lost her father. She had to go to another country to take care of her mother. So that distance that he's referring to might not have been anything except dealing with the circumstances, and then to find out later that you know what, I can, as you mature, you can understand those circumstances and reevaluate it, and those feelings that you have buried all of a sudden come to term and come, awake again.
I got a word. I got a
Go
word,
ahead.
Sean. Let me just say this word before I forget it. I think both of them, based on what they're saying, are living lives of regret.
Mm.
Both based on what they're saying. You can love your little children and all that, but you're going through memories and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it sounds like they're living lives of regret. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's a good place to be. I mean, you'll survive, but I don't know how long they've been married to this. I mean, listen, I don't have any. When I go back, right, in my memory banks, and I think about some of the honeys I've been with, I don't have any regrets that we're not still together, even though I liked all the women I fooled around with, right? I don't have any regrets that I had to move on. I can't speak for my wife, but if she does, she's playing. I give that woman an Oscar. So all I'm just trying to say is, there's difference. Yeah, they moved on, but in their heads, it's still there. And a lot of times, those memories in your head are as real as doing it. I mean, because now you're regretting your choices.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's a very good point. I understand and agree with you. To one of your earlier points, though, Precious, when I was having the technical difficulties, you asked about whether or not
men are honest about.
Right, and you were speaking about that, and to be honest, I was sitting there reacting because this is what's so confusing, and this literally what happened with you say you want the truth, but ain't truthful enough to admit that you can't handle the truth at times, and that becomes a very difficult challenge and river to navigate, because there is no time on the truth other than the fact on how you can handle what you adjust yourself to, and whether you whether you're already adjusted when you meet, or whether you need to get adjusted as we learn each other, it doesn't negate the truth.
Yeah.
So the truth of that matter is you have to be honest enough to say, sometimes I'm not able to handle the truth. And then we can at least be a little.
I think what the statement should be is, sometimes I have issues or problems processing the truth. Because
okay, if that's more comfortable for you, that's fine.
Well, I think that's what it is for a lot of people. A lot of people can hear.
No, what I'm saying is, you're saying the same thing. You're just wording it differently. You're using semantics that you're more comfortable with.
What does handle mean? What does handle mean?
The same thing. Process. However you want it, being able to not react.
You're using the word handle, and sometimes when women hear the word handle, it's like, no, I can handle that truth.
Well, and you're lending to my point. So, right, which means you really can't handle it because you're fighting over a word instead of actually listening to what's being said.
Words do mean things, right? Words do mean things, and words do bring on certain emotions, right? And so when you're dealing with a woman, you have to know how to communicate with her. And I'm not saying use, baby gloves and things of that nature, but if you have known this person, whoever this person is, and you feel as though they can't handle the truth, I think that what you're seeing is that they're not able to process the truth. And so as the person who's delivering the truth, how are you helping them process the truth? Are you just giving them the truth and saying, deal with it? This is what it is. Or as a person that knows them, that's giving them the truth, in which you should be giving them the truth in love, right? Because if you love someone, you're going to give them the truth in love. And if they can't process it, then you're going to, in love, help them process it.
Oh, okay. Let me answer a couple of.
That's part of your role in the situation.
Well, let me answer a couple of those questions. One, you asked, how do you give it to them? Do you give it to them? You said handle versus process. To me, that's synonymous. And part of, like you said, language and words that mean something is it doesn't always mean what you understand it to mean. It means the person who's speaking it is what you got to take the time to learn how they're receiving it or what their intention is. It's kind of like us having two different Spanishes. You speak Spaniard Spanish and I speak New York Spanish, and we're speaking the same, and you know the same words, but the words mean something different, and by whoever's speaking it. So you don't go on the word, you go on who's speaking it, and you understand, okay, or you try to understand so that you can communicate well what they mean by it, not what you know it to be. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen.
Right, but if you're trying to understand, okay, so you're saying that it's not the words, it's the person saying the words, which I disagree. But if it's a person saying the words and they can't handle the truth, then don't you think that the person who is speaking the truth has the obligation to help that person process the truth?
Well, the whole thing is that it doesn't matter. Just the same way they can't, like you just said, handle versus process.
Yes.
So am I to now understand that instead of you know what I mean by handle? You should, or I'm thinking
No,
that you do.
I don't. Treat me as though I don't. I don't know what you mean.
And this is where the disconnect is. It's because what I mean by, instead of asking me, what do you mean by handle? You react to handle. And so, and then you want me to speak.
I didn't necessarily react to handle. What I'm saying
No,
is
not
that
you personally.
Yeah, I'm saying that there can be a different way. When you say you can't handle the truth, that means I boom, dropped the truth on you and did a mic drop and was out. When I say process the truth,
no, that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that. That's what you interpreted to me. You should ask me, what do you mean by
what
that?
does that mean? I asked you. So
okay. Now let me answer it. Okay, let me answer
the truth.
So what I mean by you can't handle the truth is that when you ask something that is maybe sensitive to your feelings, how you react to that sensitivity is whether or not I identify whether you can handle it or not. Whether you react in a atomic way and you get angered and vicious, or whether you act in a distant way, you just you'll go in the process, but you don't relay that you're going to process. Your processing is being quiet and going into a room somewhere, but you don't express that. You just want to go process instead of saying, you know what, I hear what you're saying. Then you ask the question, what did you mean exactly? I want to be sure that I'm getting it. And then expressing to them, well, I need time to process that. And that's you handling it well.
Right.
As opposed to handling it in a different way.
Right. So handling it in a different way for you and what would look like that person can't handle the truth to you would be they're not saying anything to you. They're going into shutdown mode, right?
Well, if you shut down, if you stop communication, if you communicate erratically, those are different displays of not being able to handle the truth.
Right. So all I would suggest is when you see someone or when you experience someone do that and you feel as though they can't handle the truth, try to help them process it in a different way. Meaning, if they are, hey, it's taking you 10 days to get back to me. Hey, it would make me feel a lot better if we were able to talk about this within the next 2 to 3 days.
You're absolutely right. The problem is that they often, you don't get the opportunity for that because they once again say, I want the truth. The point being, if you're asking for the truth, that's why the reaction of you can't handle the truth, or the response of you can't handle the truth, is because you ask for it. And then when it's delivered to you, you don't like the packaging. So you want them to change the package. You didn't ask for the package, you asked for the truth. And now you want me to give you it in a package, which you didn't say initially. You didn't say I need it in a certain package. You didn't even express it. You said, I just want the truth. And then when the truth is delivered, because it's not delivered in the manner that you can process, you're now putting it on the person as a person's responsibility to help you process it, instead of just saying, you know what, I need the truth, but I need it this way. Because you know you can't process it, because the reason why I know is because the way you reacted to it. I'm not going on speculation, I'm going on observation.
So
you reacted to it.
When you give someone the truth, do they have to react the way you want them to react to it?
Again, I've just observed however they react. If they reacted instead of having a conversation, we're not going anywhere. You now have exited the conversation to react. We were just having a conversation. I expressed what it was that you asked of me, and now you're reacting, and the conversation is put on the back burner, because now you're telling me about your feelings. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Woman, she's gonna do that.
I'm a man and I have feelings as well. This is the other thing, is that I can't really embrace it, because I'm a person with feelings just as well as you're a person with feelings. I'm just handling it in a different way that you're capable of handling it, but you're refusing not to, or you're incapable to do so. And you want me to have grace in being considerate to how you feel, but you're in turn not being considerate or reciprocating that consideration.
I think processing needs to happen on all ends. Go ahead, Arpain.
You know, it's a good conversation because I was like Sean. I kind of I had these conversations with my sister. You know, she's older, no younger than me, but she's heavy on how the message is delivered. You know, and one of the things I think I learned from these panels is that, well, you know, we tell women, hey, listen, you know, you can't look at men through the eyes of a woman because we ain't women. Well, the reverse is also true. I'm starting to find out that it's really important how we deliver a message to a woman and get the truth across. I mean, it really is. And I kind of found that out, because even if we think you should just take the medicine the way we want to ram it at you, it's not effective. I mean, you know, and I learned that in my own personal life too with my wife. And I told you this story before. And when I try to get a point across, if I drop a few curses, it's over. It's over. She can't hear anything I say. So it's annoying, but it's part of understanding that women process things different than we do. But even though women don't even acknowledge the fact that they need to have a certain reciprocation on the way they talk to us, but it ain't about how they talk to us. It's how we're talking to them, especially if we're the ones who want to put a point across. Right. And so it's something you learn. You know, to kind of like a side note, I had to learn that when a woman starts to talk to you, you got to let her get her 1,000 words out, because I always try to solve it if it sounds like a problem, until a woman says, listen, Rich, I don't want you to solve my problem. I just want you to hear me. You know what I'm saying? It's something you learn along the way. Every time because to me, if it sounds like a complaint or something that needs to be solved, the woman don't necessarily need you to solve it. She just wants you to hear what they want to say. So some of these things you learn along the way.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not always perfect at it, because sometimes you just want to say, here's the medicine. It's just nasty. Just drink. You know,
right.
but sometimes
you hold your nose and that's
but sometimes if the point is more important to get across than how you want to deliver the message, you have to, as a man, you have to consider what's going on.
Right, because what do you want more, to be right or to move forward and grace and peace?
Yeah.
You know,
it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And it's a learned thing. You know, over the lifetime, I found out. You know, it's a learn.
Yeah, making some very good points, and I agree with having to learn it. The problem is that I have personally is that you just asked the question, what do you rather be, right, or do you rather go through it with grace? And both of those things sound good, but what I would prefer is a resolution, so we don't have to continuously have to deal with what is considered sometimes you complaining about something.
Right. And
I
all
just can't.
I'm saying is be a part of that resolution. Don't try to find a resolution from the other end when you know that you could be a part of the resolution. And that takes, that just takes being mindful, like our Payne was saying. And there's nothing wrong with, being a little bit more mindful of how you talk to or convey or deliver a message to someone, because my mom always told me you get more bees with honey than you can with vinegar. She always told me that. So, we do have to be mindful of those things.
Which I agree with you wholeheartedly. And this is, again, usually where I'm speaking from, the experiences I'm speaking from, is that we're very mindful. We have been mindful. Have you ever saw My 1,000-Pound Life? And there's a doctor who's, he's dealing with the patients and they're over 1,000 pounds. And he's very, I can't pronounce his name. That's why I'm not saying it, but it starts with an N. And it's, right. I'm a lot like him. To the point of, you ask them very cordially, hey, how's everything going? And they tell you, but then when they start lying to themselves or to you, you're like, okay, this is what it is. You can take it or you don't take it. And that's kind of where it goes to. And some of the places I'm speaking to is I get to that point. I don't start at that point. I am very mindful, but we don't get any resolution when we basically are coddling. And that's kind of what happens often, is that we start coddling instead of resolving. And when it becomes coddling, that's where I have issues. And that's where you're hearing from the perspective of the point of being coddling, not the point of where you start and understand and be mindful of and considerate, because that has already happened. And I say this with women all the time. It happens. We always start out very cordial. I do. I can't speak for anybody else. I start out very considerate, very mindful, to the point where you're not really trying to get a resolution. You're trying to stay in the same place. And it's fine when I'm not involved. But when I am involved and I love you, whether not love being we're in a relationship, but I have love for you, I can't just sit there and look at a booger because you don't want me to tell you that you have a booger on your nose. And I use that example all the time. I'm like, yo, I can't just sit there and talk with somebody because it's going to make them feel better not to acknowledge that they have a booger on their nose and sit comfortably there. And that's what a lot of people ask of you. They ask you to sit there and ignore it, ignore what's going on, what you're seeing, what you're observing, for the sake of their feelings. And it's very popular to do so. And I understand it. I just don't always condone it.
No, I understand what you're saying, because there are people who will want the truth, yet they won't do anything with it. There could be multiple people telling them the same thing, and they won't, try to alter or change their actions and behaviors. And so those people we leave to God, Sean. Okay, only Jesus saves. All right, I say all the time, only Jesus saves. I am not here to save the world. That has already been done for us. Okay, so those people gotta leave to the Lord. You gotta leave to the Lord. Okay,
and you're right.
Because at the end of the day, we're called to love, to serve, and things of that nature. But even God didn't push himself on people. I done laid it out. I'm going to be a leader and an example and a model for you. But at the end of the day, if it's not what you want, I'm not going to force it on you either. So I can understand what you're saying in that sense of it being someone you love, but someone that doesn't necessarily want to reap the benefits of the truth. There are people that are that way. They don't want to reap the benefits of the truth, because a lot of times the reaping the benefits of the truth means you got to get a little, you got to get a little broken. You got to get a little hurt. You got to get a little, uncomfortable, because that's what the truth does. But the truth is supposed to make you better. So if you're dealing with people who don't want to be better as a result of truth, then you just gotta leave him to God. I mean, you know, he know what to do with him, because at some point we don't know what to do with people like that, and that's okay. We could just keep it moving. There's so many other people in the world. So I think,
and that's my biggest challenge. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I think that a lot of women too, it's men and women, but women will seek the emotional attachment from a man, right? There won't be no physical attachment there. And let's say they dating somebody else, right? And they do have a physical attachment with that other person. Well, that man that they have that emotional attachment with, that friend-like relationship, whatever the case may be, they look to that to be a crutch because they lack that in their physical relationship that they have with another man. And so they think that friend that is giving them that advice, that is coming through with the truth, that is doing all that, they are always going to be there. And I have a friend like that. And I told him, and I said, you're going to have to learn how to let go, because you can't always be the crutch, or you can't always be the lifesaver for someone who wants to drown. And so you're going to have to let them drown. Okay. And you're going to have to detach, because at the end of the day, you're going to end up drowning with them. And you didn't sign up for that. So
Wow.
a lot of times people have to stop being that emotional crutch. There are other ways that you can help people out without always lending your time and your talents to them. You can offer them prayers and keep it moving. Well,
I agree. And it becomes perplexed though. Reason being is that I find that those who I'm closest with, family members, etc. We was just talking about my daughter, for example. I find that it's difficult, challenging for me to let them go, even though I know that's the actual result of what needs to happen. And so that's where I get challenged at times. And the funny thing is that the irony of it is those who don't know me receive the truth very well. Receive the right.
They don't,
because like you said,
they probably don't have the luxury of you always being there like these other people do. See,
I understand that.
Some people will not really be grateful for that presence, for that advice, for that truth, for that, that ear. So
yeah, you never miss your water till your well runs dry.
Yeah, you have to sometimes show people that, what you're taking for granted is something that can easily be taken away. And it's not trying to be petty or anything like that, but sometimes you got to show people better than you could tell them.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is, you're right. I know that. I have done that. It has been very successful. And I just try to explain that before I go to that place and space, especially with my loved ones, more or family than anyone else, because friends, I can go to that place usually easily. Mm-hmm. But my family, I'm like, yo, y'all, but then it sounds like, oh, you just trying, and they come up with, you just, and I'm like, yo, I can remove myself. I don't want to remove myself. I really don't, but I have to the point that you're making. And I often do that. It's just that getting to that point is a process for me, as you used the word earlier.
All right, we're gonna move on. That was a great conversation. Thank you guys. Yeah, we gotta work through the process and be able to add some things to the process that we do portray that are not working. Sometimes we got to add some things. Sometimes we got to delete some things. So I'm glad that we got there. All right, so I'm actually going to play this next video next. It's actually the topic of this live. Where is it? A man is talking about the woman you want doesn't exist. Is she worth the work? And I want to play this now only because of the conversation that we just had. Because Sean just made me think of a lot of things that were played in this or said in this video. Let me see. Is this?
Monroe said, the woman you want does not exist.
I'm gonna run it back. You guys, thank you so much for joining. Definitely hit that like button, share this live. Kareem, I see you in the chat. Oh, college friend, I see you. Jeffrey, I see you. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. Definitely hit the like button, share this live. And hit up the Cash App if you're enjoying the show, Michelle 1500.
Dr. Miles Monroe said, the woman you want does not exist. because she's in your head, because you have to cultivate her. Because a woman is suitable, complementary, and adaptable. So therefore, because she's suitable, complementary, and adaptable, people give up too fast. I love my wife from day one, but who's sitting next to me is not who was sitting next to me 20 years ago. I had to be patient. I had to love her into her best self. I had to see who she really was. I had to heal the broken part of the 7-year failed relationship with the people that didn't do it. She was worth the work. Now, a lot of people ain't worth the work.
All right. So he said he had to cultivate his relationship with his wife, and the person that he, got with is not the same person because of his patience, because of him, working with her, because of him going through a heartbreak that he didn't even cause. So my question is, do men cultivate relationships anymore? Or is it, I like you, you like me, let's see if this thing works? Is that something that happens anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny. I do a live on BMU's network. And one of the things I had said during my conversation with about men and how we're being trained, one of the things I told people in the audience is why I don't cheat on my wife. And that's exactly what I said. I said, I don't cheat on my wife because I had to cultivate relationships with women to get sex. So why would I marry my wife and then cultivate a relationship with a woman on the side? Right? Because what that the whole word cultivate has a meaning. That means I like the woman and she's gonna like me. And so how are you gonna cheat on your wife with somebody who has feelings for you? Because that's a recipe for disaster. And the reason why I did that, because that was my whole dating kind of thing. I cultivated relationships with women, and I just didn't smash them. I think based on what I hear from a lot of guys, I actually liked the women I slept with. I actually did. I mean, I liked them. It just didn't. There just wasn't the time for us to be together. So when I cultivated a relationship with my wife, and that was my last cultivation, and we do that every day. And of course, this guy tries to sound profound that his wife is not who she was when nobody's the same for years like that. Nobody. Right. I think it would be worse to say my wife is the same woman I met 37 years ago. And it'd be worse. It's not a compliment to say I'm the same guy. Some things are the same, my inner spirit, but the things you've learned is based on, experiences. So my wife is different in some ways, but the ways that we cleave together are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like that piece, but go ahead.
I wanted to give some of the definition to cultivate, because cultivate was initially used when we were talking about crops and agriculture, right? Cultivating and tilling the ground and making sure that, all the crops and vegetables and things of that nature could grow. And so what you're doing is you're preparing that. And so now we're talking about relationships, not necessarily talking about crops anymore. So we're talking about relationships. So you are preparing, you're acquiring, you're developing, you're nurturing, you're helping grow, and you're working to maintain, or you're working to make better, right? And so, like you said, the relationship doesn't look the same as it did 37 years ago. And there are things that didn't change, like your nature. I remember my pastor saying that, God doesn't change in nature. He may change how he does something, or he may change, how he decides to move, or but he doesn't change in nature per se. And so I can only imagine, Arpain, that you didn't change in nature. You was always honest. You were always someone that was going to be there and reliable and protecting. And, that was the nature of who you are. And so that's why your wife is still with you, because your nature didn't change. Okay. Your hair may have changed, because I remember that fro you had in that video. All right. I remember, but your nature didn't change. And so, in today's society, I think with social media and with so many things, people allow their nature to change, or really they really haven't cultivated a nature within themselves, a relationship within themselves, to actually then be able to do that with somebody else. And so I just wanted to throw that in there, that definition of cultivate, because it's more than I like you, you like me. It's like, no, I'm preparing you, and I'm helping you to be better, and I'm nurturing you, and I'm helping develop you, and vice versa. It's reciprocity there. So I wanted to give that those definitions of cultivate, so people know what that is, the younger generation, to know what cultivating a relationship is, rather than lusting a relationship that's only built out of lust, or a relationship that's only a convenient one for money, or whatever the case may be. In those cases, you're not helping each other become better. You're not necessarily helping each other prepare for even the worst or the best of times. You're just there because it is convenient, or the sex is good, or there's something that you're benefiting from that person that has nothing to do with it has only to do with tangible things and not the intangible things. Sean, go ahead.
Well, what's interesting about that, I agree with what he was saying, obviously, but everybody, as Payne said, changes, and the only thing that is constant is change, and the essence to maturation is change. Problem is, everybody doesn't embrace those principles and those thoughts, and it then stagnates us from being able to grow individually or grow with each other. I kind of like to try and grow with people, so that reciprocity that you just said, I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Reciprocity
is important. Will I do all that I can do for people? Yes, I do that. But sometimes I look for that reciprocation, and I don't know if it's me. I feel like at times I challenge myself, because I feel like I'm in my feelings, or and then when I go into my logic side, I'm like, nah, I'm being pretty practical. It's not like I'm demanding it or in need of it, but it's just fair. And I'm one that I lean towards fairness.
Well, are you okay? So you say you could be in your feelings, and then you can go back into your logic side. To me, it sounds like the angel and the devil. So
I'm a Gemini.
That explains it. It's like, nah. But is there anyone that you bounce these things off of? Because I think that you do need at least one person in this world that you can be totally honest with, and I mean totally honest with.
My problem is I'm totally honest with everybody. That's my problem. So when I speak, I'm not.
You're going back and forth with yourself.
Yes, I'm totally honest. So I'm honest that could it be my feelings? I honestly evaluate that. I'm like, okay, am I in my feelings? So I start asking that. I start having these conversations, like when we were speaking earlier today. I told you I was on the phone on my left ear. I was having that conversation, like, hey, where am I? But often I run into people who aren't always honest with themselves. And so I'm like, okay, but are you now just projecting what you feel, or are you actually understanding that are you being fair in your assessment? Because I'm really trying to get an honest assessment outside of my own, but I have to be honest to myself as well as to others, and I expect them to be honest to me as well. And I run into the point, and that's why I have that duality at times, is because I'm like, yo, Sean, are you just in your feelings? Because that's usually the first reaction to you expressing things that are unpopular. Is that, oh, that's just what you think. That's just your opinion on it is what you hear often. And I'm like, I don't want to speak on my opinion. I don't really want to know your opinion. I want to know what is the reality of it. Is it that I don't even have an example off the top of my head. But to the point that you were asking, I sometimes do realize that it could be me and my feelings. So I have to be honest about that.
Mhm.
And I do admit it. Oh, no, I was in my feelings. I say it pretty often when I recognize, and I'm like, I was in my feelings, and I apologize when I'm in my feelings.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing that a lot of people don't do. They don't put their pride aside to apologize when they were in violation, or when they might have offended someone because they were in their feelings.
Right.
Often they stay in their feelings and continue the offense or defend the offense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's always good to be honest about those things and to call yourself out before someone else can. But if someone else does it, don't be ignorant to what they're saying either, because there could be some truth to it.
You're right. You're right. What's problematic in that situation is that a lot of times I've been guilty of this, where I wouldn't have the reaction that they expected because I've already accepted what happened. And so
Mhm.
by the time they bring it to my attention, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm okay. And it seems like I'm not really having any compassion for what they're speaking of. But what
Mhm.
it actually is that I've already evaluated, accepted, forgiven, and or understood what it was. So by the time they're bringing it to my attention, I'm like, you're right, I apologize, and I keep it moving to where now it seems like I'm being insensitive to what they brought to my attention, when in fact I'm just like, I acknowledge that, I realize that, let's move forward. And they at that point want more interaction and want more
Because they didn't have the
response.
conversation with you, and when they try, you're like, okay, I acknowledge it already. Let's move on. And it's you say you want reciprocity, right? And so, in wanting reciprocity, you also have to be open to having that communication, even though you've already had it in your head. See, with women, you could have men have conversations in their head all the time. They get past it all the time. They move on, while the woman is left with either questions or more concerns, or can we expound on this? And in your head it's like, oh no, I'm good, we can move on. And so she's feeling left undone, kind of. It's almost like we've left this unfinished, we've left it open, and you've closed the door on your end, and it's not something that we've done together. And so that can make someone feel like, okay, I'm not in this with you. You just going ahead and doing whatever you want to do, not doing whatever you want to do, but you say you want resolution, and when you come to the resolution yourself and not with that other person, it's almost like, okay, you're holding yourself accountable in your head, but the woman doesn't hear those words, and she doesn't get that processing that you have gone through. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it with every single little thing, but reciprocity is being able to share in that communication, so that you do have that honest, open, and transparent opportunity again. And it's probably not as hard to pull teeth, or it's not as hard to get the truth, or it's not as hard reacting to the truth, or whatever the case may be in the communication. It's a little bit more smoother, because you both know that you're going to be able to say your piece, and then there be peace. So I think in a situation like that, it's like, all right, they say they piece, and you've already got peace, and they feel as though like, okay, well, they have peace without me, and they've moved on. And like I said, it doesn't have to be done in every situation, because I feel like men should be able to process things on their own and move on, and not make a big stink of things, to keep things even kill. Because when you're overly emotional and you're dealing with a woman who's already emotional, then it's too unbalanced. There has to be some balance there. So that's why I say you don't have to necessarily explain everything that happens in your mind and all the process that you go through to resolve things. But you do want to make a woman feel included in that process sometimes, because it does. That's part of connection. That's part of touches. You know how you're supposed to touch somebody 7 or 8 times a day? Well, with women, you have to emotionally touch them. It's not always a physical touch. It's an emotional touch. You know, R-Pain, he says that what do you say? What is it? What's the phrase that you use? You deposit, you emotionally deposit, really emotionally deposit something.
I believe that we have emotional currency. I always try to replenish my wife's emotional currency. Yeah.
Right. And you try to be
earn credits
rather than negative, right? Because when you're in a negative with women and they don't have that emotional touch or connection or bond with you, then that puts them in a negative feeling of intimacy with you. And so, you just have to be aware of that. So, when you're processing, just be mindful that you should include her a little bit, just so she gets that emotional touch for the day.
Hey, I get a lot of flack for telling guys that, especially on these stupid panels, because they call you they call you you're a panderer, you're soft, you this and that, all that kind of stuff. I tell them, man, you know what? If you guys want to stay married, it doesn't take much to add a little bit of to your wife's emotional account. It doesn't have to be gigantic things. It really doesn't. So guys are just tripping, man. So just shut up and learn something. But that's that's neither here nor there.
That's important. That's very important for women. And while it may not be as important to men need to see it of importance if you want to deal with a woman. Just like women need to see certain things that's important to y'all. Absolutely. We need to feel that, that heaviness of how important that is to y'all. It's the same thing. That's what reciprocity is. You feel it, I feel it, we feel it together, and then we recycle that. So that's definitely important. So Sean, I hope that helped a little bit.
Absolutely. And I agree wholeheartedly that those feelings, that reciprocation, I ain't even gonna try and challenge that word. Reciprocation is necessary, and I think that it's often missed one way or the other. What's up, B? Because, and that's what I always advocate. You should be willing to work for something, but it needs to be work that you both are willing to do.
Absolutely.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what goes on out here in these streets, is that they want you to work, but they don't want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And they say they want to work, but they don't actually put in the work, because a lot of times the work that they're told is necessary are the things that people sometimes their circles do to make them feel better, instead of actually telling them the things that are necessary to get better results.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we're gonna go on to this. I did want to ask you guys with this video. How do you know when a woman is worth the work? Let's just say this woman, she's a good woman. She's not boisterous. She's not a 304. She's a good woman, but she may have gone through some things in her past. And so maybe she doesn't process things the way, you process them, or it takes longer to process them longer than you do. Or, maybe she do have some anger issues from childhood trauma that she's going through. Anything could be the case with a woman, but as a man, how do you know when a woman is worth the work?
Well, there's so many levels to that, but it's basically willingness to not necessarily change, but to grow, which is another way of not just change, but you could change for the worse. But the point is, it's not willingness not to do just the bare minimum, right? If you want something from, for example, Eda Man Williams said something about his wife cooking for him, right? She didn't know how to cook when they first got married, but he didn't hold that against her. He just taught her how to cook. He says, you know, and she not only wanted to learn how to cook, but she wanted to learn how to cook the stuff that he likes.
Right.
You know, the way that he likes it. Right. So when somebody's willing not to only to grow and change, to do the things that you like, the way you like it, then reciprocity is part of this as well. You could say, well, that woman is starting to touch me on a level that's better than, is different than physical. And the thing about men, and a lot of people don't realize this is a chemical reaction that we have to women. I believe the hormone is what they call vasopressin.
Vasopressin.
Right.
Vasopressin.
Yeah. So a woman could bring that out in a man over time based on the works that she's willing to do for him, right? That makes her different than another woman that's just giving him sex, because you can't make a man love you through sex. It's got to be through the works. So that makes the woman worth it. That makes it the morning after that woman, the morning after you first encounter each other sexually, and she does stuff for you to want you to come back, is the thing that's more important. A lot of women miss that, right? Because you got to go through that first night, no matter what your relationship is, where you're worried whether he's going to like you not, still like me afterwards, right? It's based on the way you are afterwards. Most women, you know, especially if you're trying to, here's that word again, cultivate a long-term relationship. So there's some grace in there, but it's what you're willing to. Are you willing to make me a sandwich after we have sex? You know what I'm saying? That's just a euphemism, or you know. But the truth of the matter is, it's a metaphor, whatever that is. But that's the kind of stuff. What are you willing to do afterwards? What am I willing to do for you afterwards? But to get to a man, it's your works afterwards. It's not what your work leading up to it. Anyway, so that's just me. So yeah, that makes it worth it, especially if you like her and you want to like her, right? So yeah. If you have some concrete to base your growing relationship on. So I never really looked at it in brass tacks. If a woman wasn't worth it, you need to recognize that and move on as soon as you can. Right. But a lot of men don't like that either, because they're enamored with the wrong things. Right? She's got all the attributes I want. You know, I can have sex with her for a lifetime, you know, whether she's a good woman or not. There's too many men who acquiesce to that.
Yeah.
So I'll land it there.
Okay. And my answer to that is, it's easy to identify a good woman. Problem is, a lot of women don't understand that they're good. And that becomes a challenge, because they have sometimes been through life situations where they didn't feel too good about the circumstances. But you know, as us men, we see those circumstances as adding value to who you are now. And because you have regret, shame, or guilt behind what you've done, you don't recognize how valuable those experiences or those journeys have become for you, and the outlook of the person that you become, the considerate person. And sometimes you revert back to that hurt person when you think about it. And so recognizing a good woman is somebody who's considerate, who's honest. And that's really what it boils down to. But also society tells you that you're good when you achieve accolades. You're good when you're taking care of your children. You're good when you're doing things that really doesn't have the core value of character. And so you don't recognize good character. So when somebody tells you you're good and you have those characteristics, yes, you're worth the wait. But if you can't accept and embrace how good you are, that's when you have to let it go. You're on mute.
I think that's a lot of people's problems, though. They have issues letting go. And I think I'm the opposite. I think a lot of people have that issue of letting go. And so because they don't let go, they don't know what's on the other side of, you know, surrendering to something that you should be letting go, and then that's okay. I think a lot of people have that that syndrome of not necessarily missing out, but they feel they continue to see the better in someone that person doesn't see in themselves. And so, you know, when that's the case, you do have to let go, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult, but you have to train yourself to do that. Actually, you have to kind of train yourself to say, okay, if this is not checking the boxes, or if this is not serving me the way that I need to be served, then I do need to let it go. And I think that certain people hold on to certain things in a relationship that's not going to get you to a certain place. It may benefit you in the moment. It may, you know, be a short-term type of gain, but there's no longevity there. There's no future in building and developing and processing and cultivating all those things, right? Because you're continuing to do the same thing and going in a cycle that's not really going anywhere. There's a lot of people that'll have arguments or disagreements, and they will not come to a resolution, and it'll kind of, you know, simmer down for a little bit, but they'll come back up to that same issue and there's still no resolution, and they'll simmer down for a little bit, or, you know, y'all have y'all time when you're not talking, or you're walking around a house and, you know, barely talking to each other, and a couple days have passed by, and I don't know, maybe the kids need lunch money, and so now it's like, all right, well, what are we going to do? And you may have that little conversation, but again, a problem comes up and you haven't gotten past it, and your relationship is not going to further heights. The days are just passing. Time is just passing by, but you're not really growing in that time. And so it's important to know when to let go. It really is, because it'll help you in all of your growth, your mental growth, your spiritual growth, your physical. Like, it helps in all of those areas, because you're able to be. It's healthy. It's a healthy skill that you learn, because I've learned in my life that, you know, everybody's not going to be around forever. There's a season, a lifetime, or a reason. You're in my life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And that's how I have to categorize you. And there's a lot of people that's not around for a lifetime. There's some people that are around for just a reason. And there are some people around who are just there for a season. I've learned that very young, and it could just be because I was in foster care and I was adopted, and I had to learn that very young. These people ain't in my life that was in my life when I was 7 and 8. You know, they were there for a season in my life. They were there for a reason, but they wasn't there for a lifetime. And those people that are there for a lifetime, it takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of reciprocity. It takes a lot of communication for those people to stick around for a lifetime. So we're going to go into this next video. I saw this video and I thought it was funny, but I think it's something that we can pull out of this, especially for the men's panel. Want to get you guys' perspective on it, because it's a man speaking. It's a husband and a wife. So it's a husband speaking. The wife asked the question and the husband answered it. The wife kind of spinned it a little bit, as women do often. But he gave his response, and I want to know what you guys think about his response. So let me just make sure I have the right video queued up here.
To eat dinner out here with me?
I do not know.
Okay.
But I will.
But you say you didn't want to.
Yeah, but when you ask me what I want, I'm going to give you an honest answer. It doesn't mean I'm not willing to prioritize you over my own wants and desires. But if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you my honest answer. So no, it's cold. My toesies are cold. I don't want to eat supper out here. But you do, so I will go put on a warm pair of socks. I will warm up some soup for us, and we will sit here and we will watch the sunset, and we will be in love.
I'm sorry. I laugh every time I see it. We will sit here and we will be in love. What do you guys think about that? Is he being passive, or do men compromise and do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but because it makes their wife, you know, it gives them a little joy, or it makes them a little happy? It's just like, all right, well, I mean, I'm cold. I don't really want to sit outside. There's bugs out here. It's really uncomfortable. But because you want to do it, my little toesies is cold. but we will sit out here, we will sip wine, and we will be in love. He was very honest and real with her, which Sean, pointed out earlier. Is that a normalcy amongst husbands and how you guys operate with your wives? Or
I like him. I like that. You know why? Because he doesn't do. He's letting her know that there's been a lot of times that he'll do shit for her because she wants it. He was just making it obvious. I do that with my wife too, but I make a gesture, right? I do this, like punch the ticket. I'm punching the ticket. She always gets it, because she knows I don't want to do it, but because she wants to do this shit, I'm doing it. So I said, and then we just laugh. So he's punching the ticket, and he's letting her know he's punching the ticket, but there's probably so many times he does it without doing that.
Right.
He just wanted to let her know, this time I'm letting you know why I'm doing this. And it's my man.
Do you think it has to be said at least once? Like you said, punching the ticket. There's probably so many times where he's just compromised and just grit his teeth and just did what it was for that hour or two, whatever it is. Just come watch this show with me, or come outside, or whatever. Come grocery shopping with me. Y'all know y'all hate stores, okay?
Oh my God. Just don't tell me to hold your purse.
Do you think at least once it needs to be said, like, hey, yes, I don't mind prioritizing your happiness over mine at times. And because you want to do this, I'm going to do it with you. But I don't really want to do this.
That's right. And every so often, you got to let them know, man. I love that, because it's true as hell, man. That's really true. That's real life. And he's going to sit there, and once he's in it, he's not going to say anything else. But he just wanted to make sure she got the point. But I've done that. Oh my God.
Now, does it work the same way with women and men, where a man will ask a woman to do something and it's like, I don't really want to do this, but I mean, since you want to do it, I'll sit here and do it. I mean, there may be men who have asked their woman probably, hey, come watch the game with me, or come go to this game with me. Or, there's a lot of men that will ask women to do things with them. The women will have an attitude, or they won't do it, but then they'll be like, oh, we're not spending enough time together. And he's like, I have invited you countless of times to come hang out with me, come do things that I like that you don't necessarily like. Is it the same way with women and men? Has there been times where your wife is like, I don't really want to do this, but since you asked?
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure there is, but it's different, right? Because we receive messages different. If my wife didn't want to do something for me, right, because I asked, I'd rather her not do it.
Right.
I would rather her not do it. So I'll tell my wife, like, if sometimes, she's not in the mood to like cook a certain meal or whatever, do something like that, right? And I said, listen, if you ain't gonna cook this meal with love, don't cook nothing for me at all.
I know that's right.
Don't
when you cook it with love, okay?
Ain't no love in it. Don't do it at all. So I mean, I think we received the message, because you could tell he was doing that for her, but there's no malice in it, right? He's gonna, he's just gonna be happy she's enjoying her. So I think men and women are wired differently that way. But it's true, it happens the other way, but I think the reaction is different. Because usually women don't. Well, here's the thing: women usually don't do shit for you if they don't want to do it. So if they don't want to do it, they ain't doing it. So hey, man.
And you exactly, you lend to that point of why I am as harsh sometimes that people will consider harsh, because I don't believe that should be the case. You need to have the reciprocity, and reason being is because you are making those sacrifices. So absolutely, if she cooking, she better do it with love, and she can tell you in love, I don't want to do this, but you need to accept. All right, well, just like I don't want to do a lot of things, you don't want to do it, but just do it with love, and thank you for doing it. But instead, you'll give her the pass. I don't want you to do it, and not you specifically. I'm speaking of the situation you just described. But then it becomes a habit almost, or a pattern, to where now she's not doing what you need, or not doing what you're desiring, and you're accepting it because of your pride, saying, nah, give me it with love, or don't give it to me at all. But nah, just give it to me. Even though you don't want to do it, be honest and let me know you don't want to do it, but still do it with love. and I appreciate that, and let her know you appreciate her appreciating your desires and doing it for you, even though she doesn't want to do it for you. Like you can, like she can appreciate you doing the same thing when you said, like you said, when you give her that check, yo, she's understanding that you're doing something you don't want to do for the love of her, and she's showing her appreciation by allowing it. And I would challenge you to allow her to do it as well. So and show your appreciation for her, despite not wanting to do it, doing
No,
it for
Sean,
you because
you're absolutely right, Sean. You're absolutely right. I was saying some of that tongue in cheek. I mean, these situations with us very rarely happen if I was to be personal, but you're right. You can't let that shit get out of control either way. You know, you part of the being together is that you're going to be doing some things on both sides that you don't necessarily want to do at the time. So I just think the way we process that is different than the men and women. I think the dynamic is pretty funny, you know. So yeah, but you need to minimize those occurrences. You know,
I agree, and that's kind of why I sometimes go extreme on identifying it, because simply I'm thinking about the future, and ultimately a small crack turns into a busted window, and I don't want our window to bust. I see the crack, you see the crack, you're ignoring the crack, and you're like, oh, it's nothing, it's a little thing, let's just have fun, let's just enjoy it. And I'm like, nah, that little crack it is a little thing right now, but if we don't address it, it can become something that can be disastrous to our existence, not your existence, our existence. And so that's why I am so emphatically identifying that crack and trying to resolve that crack, so that we don't have a busted window in our future as we're driving along the road, and now we have a bigger issue that we're not able to handle, as opposed to when we are able to handle it when it's a small issue and something that's very insignificant.
You're correct, but you know, all of these things don't grow into a big crack. But you're right. If there's something that you think that could snowball, yeah, you fix it. But some things are just just life. But you're right. So there's no wrong answer to what you just said. You just got to recognize what could be a crack that based on how things are going. You know. So I hear you. I just you just don't want to cry fire for every little thing.
Well, to your point, and you're right. It's not always that you have to address the crack immediately. But if you say, yo, there's a crack there, and they acknowledge, oh, yeah, I see that crack too, y'all can move on and not deal with the crack at that point because y'all both acknowledge it. But if they say, oh, that's not, and that's just a little smear, don't worry about that. That becomes problem. You know, that's what concerns me. It's like, yo, if you acknowledge, oh, all right, cool. Yeah, and all right, yeah, we ain't gonna deal with it now. Well, when we get over somewhere else, we'll deal with it. Cool. But if you're gonna sit there and tell me, what are you talking about? That's it. Why are you worried about that crack? Wait a minute. This is, you know, that becomes a bigger issue to me, or a triggering issue to me, maybe, because at that point now you're saying you're disregarding something that could potentially be, like I said, problematic for us. Now, with my friends, the reason why they're able to receive it so well is because there is no us. So I'm able to say, yo, all right, cool. You messing up your own thing. You're gonna have that problem in the future. And if you don't want to deal with it now, all right, cool. When it becomes a cracked windshield or a windshield busts out, don't start complaining. I don't want to hear no complaints. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh man, guess what? Nah, because I brought it to your attention. You said, oh, don't worry about it. All right, cool. We're not going to worry about it. It's not doing me no damage. But when I'm in that car with you, or we in a relationship that it can ultimately affect me and our children or those around us, I'm going to address it very, sometimes extremely. And I'm working on that, to your point. I'm working on that patience. But yeah, that's kind of the processing that I do. And I'm sharing that with her as I'm sharing it with you guys. So to that video, I agree wholeheartedly. That's me all the way. Not in those words, but that's me all the way. All right, yo, I'm going to do this because you want me to do it. You asked me, do I want to do it? And I honestly told you, no, I don't want to do it. Nah, it's not something that I woke up and said, "Hey, I want to do this morning." But I love you, so I will absolutely do it because that's what you want to do.
Can you play that video again? Because
Want to eat dinner out here with me?
I do not know.
I do not know.
Okay.
But I will.
But you said you didn't want to.
Yeah, but when you ask me what I want, I'm going to give you an honest answer. It doesn't mean I'm not willing to prioritize you over my own wants and desires. But if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you my honest answer. So no, it's cold. My toesies are cold. I don't want to eat supper out here. But you do, so I will go put on a warm pair of socks. I will warm up some soup for us, and we will sit here and we will watch the sunset, and we will be in love.
That is me entirely just not being white. That is me. I'm like, because what I didn't realize and what he said is, no, I do not know. I thought he was saying, no, I do not know, as in understand. He was saying, no, I do not know. Which is a whole different dynamic.
But he's still willing to go warm up the soup. He's the one too. I said, I'm gonna go and warm up the soup for both of us. Get some hot soup out here. So we can watch the sunset and freeze it down.
Be in love.
That is hilarious.
Where the mixed message, we haven't done mixed messages in a while, but I think where the mixed message comes in at is, do you want to eat dinner out here with me? No, I do not. But I will, because I love you and things of that nature. And a woman's, it's kind of like almost what Arpain said. If I ask you to cook me something and you're not going to do it with love, don't do it. And that's the attitude that a lot of women actually have. It's like, if you're not going to do it with love, or if you're not going to have no urgency, or if you're not even thinking about do it, then don't do it. Like, that's how a lot of women think. And so I think for her, it was almost like women can feel like they are nagging or being a pest when they want to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. And although he's being honest and real with her, saying, hey, look, it don't mean that I'm not going to prioritize your happiness over mine sometimes, but if you're going to ask me a question, I'm going to give you an honest answer. And that kind of goes back to, women can't handle the truth. And I think she's not processing that correctly. It's almost like, well, I just asked you if you wanted to, and you told me you don't. So why are you doing it? Like, are you really going to do it with love? Are you really doing this because it's something that you're into? And we know he's not, but are you going to be into it when you do it? Just like, like I said, a lot of men don't like stores. Y'all, if you can't order it online, or if you can't just go straight to what you need and get out, like you're not going to do it, right? And there are some women that'll say, hey, come in the store with me, or go grocery shopping with me. And it's like, oh, but do I really have to? Or, and it's like, well, if you don't want to, then don't come with me, because I'm going to be, jolly and happy and, in the store while you just moping around and not necessarily, wanting to be here. I thought I saw Cam. Did he leave?
But what's interesting about what you said?
Mm-hmm.
You are exactly reacting like a woman would, including the fact that you're saying, well, fine, don't do it if you want. And this is the point that I made about handling the truth. So now you're reacting when he's giving you what you want because you want it, and now you don't want it because he ain't giving it to you the way you want it. And that just is it's just backwards to me.
Right. Well, it's not the way I'm reacting, but it's the way that I'm telling you that a lot of women do.
No, not you specifically. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to your point that you made.
Right.
That's why I'm speaking to that person.
Like, I'm just saying, because she said, well, I just asked you if you want to do it, and you don't want to do it, and it's not that he didn't react the way that she wanted him to, but again, when the feelings aren't mutual, then it seems as though I'm almost pestering you to do something, or I'm trying to force you to do something, and you're not doing it, or you're not being forced to do it at will, because you can do whatever you want to do. But if you're going to do something with your spouse, you would think that you would have that same vigor and that same want to with them. And this video proves that it's not always like that. And that's reality, right? Like I said, women would like a man to go shopping with them or grocery shopping. Like, let's just spend an hour together going grocery shopping. And a man would be like, nah, I'll just, let you know what I want. And when you get back, I'll help you unpack the bags. How about that? And sometimes that's the compromise. It's like, I'm not going to go grocery shopping with you. Don't even ask me. But I will help you bring the bags in, and I will help you unpack them, and you put them away, how you like. But those are the things, the realities that a lot of couples go through. Hey, Cam, how are you this evening?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm well. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So this is one thing I think in my relationship that just kind of when I was married, there's one issue we never had was when it came to wanting to do stuff. Because I think basically I told her, I said, anytime I'm somewhere, I want to be there. If I choose to remove myself from being there, then that means I didn't want to be there. So you know that I'm totally present with you wherever I'm at. And so after we had that conversation, because she used to go to her dad's house all the time, and I just remember after that had happened, she kind of understood my position and where I stood. And we were able to, we always had a really great time whenever we would go out. And then to bring this kind of to another area, I think one time, I think I was in church or something like that, or I was somewhere, and I just remember sitting back and realizing, like, this is somewhere that people want to be. Like, a lot of us are going through this single life phase and all that kind of stuff, all to be married. And I have to sometimes take the perspective back that even if I don't want to go to Target, or go to do something like that, like, this woman wants me to be with her. And so I'm going to make it, within reason, of course, like, I'm going to make it my business to be able to go and do something with the person that I love, even if it's not my number one choice. So I think it's just a perspective thing. I think everybody wants some time alone, but at the same time, like, I'm definitely honest. But after you guys are done with this question, I did have a question for you. Oh, is she there? Hello?
Are you guys done with this question?
Well, go for it. I want to hear your question to her.
Yeah, I want to hear the question.
Okay.
Oh, God, you jumped out.
Wasn't me.
Mowing over this thought process. Say again?
Oh, wait. Say it again, because you cut out real quick and then came back in. So we did the beginning of it.
Okay, yeah. So I've been mowing around with this question because I keep on hearing from young ladies, like, it's about the delivery. It's about the delivery. Like, they may not say it in that context, but, or like, I would follow that man to anywhere because he has so much confidence and things like that. I'm wondering, do women value honesty as much as they value how you deliver or how your approach is? Because I'm very honest all the time, but I just wonder if they respect that more, or if they would rather the flowery, or maybe not always flowery, but just the presentation being done with care.
Being done with care, definitely. Doesn't have to be flowery. You don't have to dress it up in order for it to feel good for a woman. I don't think you necessarily have to dress it up. I think women want men to be mindful of how they speak to them, period. Just like you guys want us to be mindful of how we speak to you. You don't want us to raise our voice. You don't want us to belittle you. You don't want us to look down upon you in any way or make you feel small. Women are emotional creatures, and I'm not saying that men aren't, because men have emotions as well, and that's why you would like us to speak to you a certain way, and so we would like that to be reciprocated. And so it's not that you have to talk to a woman like a child, but at the same time, if you're wanting a solution, my suggestion, and it is not Bible, it's not what you have to do, but my suggestion is, how are you a part of that solution? Meaning, if you are telling her the truth or telling her something, making an observation, whatever it may be, if you want a certain result, how are you delivering that message so that you both can be on the same wavelengths of conversation, right? So you never want to be yelling at each other or one person speaking at the other person. You always want it to be cohesive. You always want it to be an inclusive type of thing. And so women process things differently than men, and so it's not necessarily valuing the truth over valuing something that's being flowery, put in a flowery way, or however you said it. But I think it's just being mindful that if I'm someone you love, you're going to deliver it to me with love. If I'm someone that you say that you care about, then you're going to deliver the package with care. And it doesn't mean that you have to take out anything that you're going to say or not tell the truth. It just means that maybe you're not accusatory. Maybe you're observatory and not saying, well, you do this all the time. Well, I've been, seeing that some things that you're doing is almost like a pattern. Do you realize that you're doing that? It's not always that you're talking at someone. You want to have a conversation with someone where you're including them maybe in that truth. You want to get them to recognize that truth. You want to get them to be able to change their ways so that you guys can grow. But when you're always talking at someone or you're raising your voice, or like Arping said, he used to throw those curse words in there. And when you're seeing you're not getting the response or the results or the things that you need for the relationship to progress, then that means that you probably should change some things. And I'm not saying that only you should change some things, because women need to, be able to kind of.
Let me real quick. Can I give you an example? I want to give you an example. Like, let's say it's you and me. So okay. I'm trying to understand. So let's say there's something definitive about, let's say, a business practice, or maybe I see you constantly fall into maybe overextending yourself. Let's say that's your issue. Mm-hmm. And then I just get to a point where it's like, listen, you do realize that and I don't say it in a rude way or anything, because I mean, ultimately speaking, it might fall back on me. But let's say I say it in a direct way, because I think the thing that I'm kind of trying to understand or struggle with is, I could say something and say the truth and be honest about it, but then what'll happen is it'll cause you to self-reflect. And if you're not ready to deal with that truth, which I don't know where you're at currently, I'm just, as a loving person that sees something about you, want to say it. So let's say, hey, you kind of seem like you always overextend yourself. And I don't know if that's the greatest thing for you, because it kind of like starts a stress cascade, and then you get stressed, and then now we don't get to have fun and that kind of stuff. And I can say it like that, and then she could still not take it. So would it be better just in a situation like that? Like, let's say if I said that to you and you weren't ready to address that, and I kind of saw that you weren't ready to address that, just to leave it alone? Or would it be better just to kind of like create maybe a learning situation or experience to get that truth to you? Or do you just leave it alone?
Well, like you say, you don't know where she's at, right? Like when
in terms of, this is like an unsolicited, like, this is just, I see you stressed, I love you, so I'm going to give you this.
Right. And that's what men do, right? It's like, I see you stressed, I want to relieve your stress, so we're going to minus what's stressing you. We're going to take out what's stressing you, right? And in her mind, like my mom, she'll give you the shirt off her back. She'll extend herself. This sounds like my mom and dad. She'll extend herself. She will do. And the next morning she wake up hurting. Won't wake up to about 3 in the afternoon because she hurting and she's extended herself and things of that nature. And my dad is like, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't. But they've been married long enough that they know each other. But what I would suggest is, I always, you want it to be inclusive. You don't want to always feel as though you're talking at someone, especially if this is not a relationship you've been in for 10, 15, 20 years where you know them, right? And so you always want to include them. I see that you're always overextending yourself. Do you feel as though you overextend yourself, or do you think it's something that you just do second nature? Because you're on the outside looking in. So this person that overextends himself is something that's in their nature. Remember, we talked about not changing your nature, right? It's in their nature to serve, or it's in their nature to be kind to others. It's in their nature to do those things. So you want to bring it to their attention because, like you said, I don't know if you can hear me. Did you hear? Are you hearing me, Kim?
Yeah, you just went out for like 2 seconds. Yeah.
So you want to ask them the question so it doesn't seem as though you're talking at them. Do you think?
Precious.
Do you think that you're overextending yourself, or do you think this is just who you are, right? Because you're seeing something that she's not seeing. And so then you go from there because you don't want her to be on the defense. You want her to be in the same arena as you, and it's y'all against the problem and not you against her. So do you see that you do this? Do you realize that this is something that you do? And go from there with her questions. You want it to
Precious.
be somewhere where you can get to a resolve. Yes, Sean.
Do you realize how many rules we got to do just to make y'all happy? You're explaining some now.
You realize how many?
And this is the problem. This is to
happy?
make y'all happy. We got to go through all of this stuff. You just said give a gift with love. That's not true, Precious. Because you give a gift in a paper bag, and it's with love or with no wrapping whatsoever, and then there's a complaint about, well, you could have wrapped it up. And nobody acknowledges that. You don't acknowledge how much work you want for your happiness. And then you want everybody to do the work. What was that?
Sean, men are called to love women, right? And this is not something that comes natural to you because you feel as though it's a lot of work. But at the end of the day, if you're going to love a woman, then you're going to commit to that work. Period.
No. You make more work than's necessary, and you don't acknowledge it, and you condone that it's okay and it's normal. Instead of recognizing that, look, wait. Instead of recognizing that, you know what? I didn't receive it when you was sharing it with me. You won't say I didn't receive it. You'll say you need to do this to make me receive it. How about you just didn't receive it? You wasn't there to receive it. You ain't there yet. We can understand that. We can take the time with you till you get there. But if you don't acknowledge that you having an issue with getting there, then you now want us to go backwards, basically, to have you catch up instead of pull you along for you to keep up.
So I would agree real quick. I would agree with Sean, but I think what I'm engaging with in a lot of capacities is I already know where I come from, and I might be in a certain place, and I may have had certain rearing, and I've had certain development that I had that a lot of young ladies that I would interact with maybe not have. They may have good bones, but there's a lot of restructuring that needs to go on there, and I believe that I can take on this journey of you growing into that because I'm the head, right? I'm supposed to be the head or the priest of the household, so to speak, you know, if you use the Judeo-Christian situation. So with that being said, definitely acknowledge that. I guess I'm just trying to get to the practical aspects of it where it's like, if I'm dealing with you, once we get a couple years in, then yeah, we can have these conversations because we're locked in. But sometimes it seems like I might be, and it could be any relationship that I'm dealing with, especially with women, a lot of times not even romantic. Like I do case management. I have like a lot of capacities in which I deal with women, but it still seems, like you said, these levels of interaction are coming up, and it seems like this delivery aspect of things. Sometimes, you know, of course, you just got to say what it is. Like, yo, you got to do this A, B, C, and D. And I tend to do that when I'm in a case manager, you know.
Yeah, well, let me take a chance. Yeah, we heard you, Cam. You fell out again. But let me add something to what you're saying.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I wanted to write a book that women are high maintenance and the men who love them. Now, I realize that every man is willing to pay whatever price it is for the woman he wants. But, you know, when I say they ain't all high maintenance, but that's subjective, right? There's a maintenance fee to have a woman in your life. And she'll say the same thing about you, but we're talking about men now, right? We're talking about what we have to do, because I'm one of those kind of guys who believe our obligations to our women, especially in marriage, far exceed what we expect for them to give to us in return. We don't even want them to give us respect. That's the number one thing. So the point really is that, you know, the woman you choose is going to come with some kind of fee. You just got to decide whether you're willing to pay it. That's it.
So then,
you know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
So question for you with that. I like that. So with that being said, is that how do you gauge when you answer something with like a little more sternness or a little more love? Because like you said, the fee's there, but I also don't want to contribute to a deficit in your character. So I don't want you to keep on doing some nonsense that really is going to, you know, bite you in the behind at some point, maybe even in our relationship, versus when, and so I guess that's sometimes with the delivery, I'm like, there's sometimes the things just got to be said how they're said. And then there's other times that, like you said, the fee, like I got to pay this toll because this is how my woman works. This is where she's at in her journey and her development. So how do you do that or navigate that in your relationship or at one point with your relationship?
Well, let me say, you're kind of answering your own question, right? Because if you understand your woman and you understand that when I say fee, I'm not even talking about burden. It's something that you want to do for her to keep her. So you have to learn how to say it to your woman. So what I'm saying is, regardless of the circumstance, whether it's a critical one or not, it's up to you to understand how to convey your message, right? So stoicism is a little of this thing, because even if it's a real serious issue that you need your woman to understand and change, now it's more critical that you deliver that message properly so she can get it, as opposed to being real stern. You could be stern and have a good delivery at the same time. So that means you can't lose yourself. That's all I'm just trying to say. Because and you gotta take some time to understand the kind of woman you got. Some women could take a message a little stronger than others. In my case, that ain't the case. When I talk to my wife, I gotta be deliberate on how I talk to her, and that's don't drop no F-bombs and tell a story, because that's how she received messages. But it took me some time to learn that. You know, so
Pain, that's true.
Go ahead.
That's true. I'm going to use the analogy that y'all been talking about, paying the price. I agree, there's a price to pay. But the point is that what I am trying to help women acknowledge and see, stop raising the price. You continue, we don't mind paying the price, but every time we pay it, oh no, it costs this now. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. Instead of, you know, we're not saying we don't want to pay the price. We're just saying that be satisfied, be content at some point.
Sean, you are saying you don't want to pay the price. You're saying that if you need something to be said, you should just be able to say it. Not if I give you a gift, I shouldn't have to wrap it and da 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 da.
No. You said wrap it and give it with love. I said we are giving it with love, but the thing is that your interpretation of love is wrapping it. Now I come back and I wrap it, but I wrap it in paper bag. Now you're interpretation, you're saying, well, it should have been wrapping paper. Okay, now I come back with wrapping paper, and you're like, well, it should be a bow on that wrapping paper.
Hey, Sean, let me add something. Let me just say this. One of the things, Sean, that we have a little mismatch, because it depends on what frame of reference we're talking about. I'm a married man, and you're not married. So the way you would look at a woman is as a prospective wife, maybe. I'm past that point. So I'm with a person who actually wants to be with me. You know what I'm saying? So the bar doesn't keep getting moved when I talk, you know, and if she does try to move the bar, I say, well, you're moving the goalpost, and here's how we got to bring it back in. You know, because she does some of the things typical women do. Like if I tell her something I wanted to correct, all of a sudden the elephant comes out in her, and she got a laundry list of shit I didn't do before. And I said, well, we could get to that after we fix this, okay? You know what I'm saying? I promise you. So, you know, like I told, my wife has never stopped being a woman just because she married me, you know? So it's a constant kind of thing, but it's not really hard to do because she's a willing participant in this relationship. So when you're trying to court a woman for a relationship, that's a different perspective. So a lot of things you're saying, Sean, is really true. But to me, those are more eliminators than anything else. If you have a hard time putting a woman in the box you want her to be in, then maybe she shouldn't be in the box.
That's right.
You know, maybe she shouldn't be the one you put in the box. Then on to the next.
Yeah, that sounds like a headache. I wasn't. The only thing I'm saying is just being mindful of the delivery is important. And if you don't think that that's not important, then I mean, that's part of communication. I mean, maybe there needs to be, you know, that premarital counseling and like those are things that you just learn from places like that, because those things are important if you're going to be with someone long term. You know, you have to know how to move them in a way that doesn't seem forceful, but it gets the job done. And that's on both ends. And if you feel as though you could just say the truth all the time with no filter, no anything, you're going to have to check yourself. You know, I had a friend in college, right? Her name was, I'm not going to tell her name, but I had a friend in college and we hit it off right away. We both were, you know, from Jersey, South Jersey at that. And we hit it off right away. And I take people as they are. I take you as you are. But she was the straight shooter. Like, didn't care how she said things to people, just said it. I said, girl, one day somebody gonna roll up in your mouth. They just gonna punch you and they not going to think twice about it because you're not thinking twice about how you saying things to people. And with working with people, and I've worked with people all my life, all the professions I've ever had, always working with people on teams. You learn how to work with people. And if you're going to be with someone long-term team-like mentality, you're going to learn how to work with them and not against them. And so sometimes that take humbling yourself to know that if you're the lead, if you're the head of household, sometimes you do have to lead her in a way that maybe she doesn't know, she wasn't brought up, she's not familiar with. And it takes, you know how women say, oh, I want him to teach me something. That's not always business. That's not always how to get a bag. Sometimes that is how to handle my emotions. And you would like a woman coming to the table knowing how to handle her emotions and regulate those things. But if it's not outlandish, and there are times where maybe, you know, she doesn't respond the way that you want her to, then as a man, you find ways to move her in a way that maybe she doesn't respond like that. But I mean, if she's off the handle every single time and things of that, and it's just not to your liking, then move on. You know, don't ask these questions, why you need this and why you need that. No, she's just not the person for you. But it's important to handle people with love, no matter who you're talking to, truth or no truth.
I will say this because I'm very good with being able to put words together in different scenarios and situations. But Sean is right, and I think coming from the perspective and the point of that's the reason why the question even got asked. It wasn't specifically about a particular woman. It's just in general, the perceived bar has been raised in terms of because the women aren't built like they used to be built. Like the Preciouses of the world are very few and far between in terms of like know how to maneuver. I probably only know 5 young ladies who are like you. Like, and I know I get 300 new cases that'll come across my desk at any particular point, and I only know 5 in life. So it's a very rare thing that you'll find somebody who has these basic understandings of how relationships and commitment and loyalty and all these other kind of virtues work. So it definitely they do try to raise the bar. And they say things with their words that you need to do all this other kind of stuff. Of course, once you get in a relationship, a lot of those things aren't really there. But it is definitely a thing where you have to navigate a little bit better and sift through a lot of stuff better. So I definitely understand Sean's point when he's talking about like, no, I should be able to find a mature woman so I don't have to like dance around or be on eggshells regarding how I have to talk with her in every capacity. I do agree with the whole Thea. I love that metaphor that there is going to be stuff that you have to do with anybody, but it's hard sometimes sifting like, okay, is this how I have to do it now? Because I'm always telling the truth and love and that kind of stuff. But now you're saying I have to use all these extra parts of speech in order for me to get something across to her. Sometimes it's not worth it. And sometimes deciphering whether it's worth it or not is not, it's hard. So,
yeah, I just, saying things with love again doesn't mean that you're having all these flowers around it. It could just you making the observation and asking the question at the end. So it doesn't look like it's an accusatory thing, but an inclusive type of thing. Because if you want a resolution, shouldn't you both come to that resolution?
Hey, but if it's not my resolution, let's say if it's something in you and it has nothing to do with me, then now, like I said, there's no need.
So when do you guys separate? Are you together or are you not?
if I'm just dealing with you, even let's say as a friend, but it's a woman friend, let's just say that I'm your friend. So as a friend, I'm going to say that. So whether it's that or if it's even a situation, this is something that is going to impact your life that I saw, and I'm not going to let you have spinach in your teeth. But sometimes people ain't ready to deal with the spinach that's in their teeth. Like me saying that to them can make them offended, or it could be, like I said, but sometimes, like I said, you guys are so big on delivery where it's like, I could say something really nice, but if you're not willing to deal with that, then you're not willing to. So that's why I said it. Sometimes things are about.
Yeah, that we talked about that earlier. Give them the guy. You can't, if someone is not ready, they're not ready. Wow. That's easy. That's easy work. Like that
but you see how easily
you cut off your time and talents, because this person, if they're not ready, there's nothing that you can do to make them ready. You make your observation, you tell the truth, but if they're not ready, they're not ready.
But you're right, but sometimes Precious, that comes up. The issue, and the issue that we have in Precious is that, like you said, you cut off pretty easily. So you would not give life to a woman who is in need when you're supposed to. We know we're supposed to, so we don't always cut off as quickly because we understand the damage and we understand what patience and what delicacy that you need. But if we go your route, we just cut them off, and now you're hopeless, and we don't like to see y'all hopeless.
What?
We don't like to see y'all in despair.
Some of the so this thing, I think it's a balance, and that's what I'm learning to do. It is a balancing act because, like I said, we come from broken places, and I understand that. And I think dealing sometimes with the African American women in the current state that we're in, it does become difficult to kind of navigate that, like where it's like.
It sounds like Sean has a savior complex, because there's no way that it's we don't want to see y'all hopeless, but we want to understand and we want to do X, Y, and Z. It's almost like telling a child don't touch the stove, right? But you're trying to you don't want to leave them alone, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna leave you alone and see if you touch the stove, then you're gonna burn yourself. My thing is with women, you are not bound to anyone. You don't want to see someone hopeless. Is a you problem, not a them problem. That's a you problem. If you're not bound to them, they're not your wife, they're not your daughters, they're not your anyone. Why do you feel like you got to be the one to set them straight or tell them the truth?
Let me answer that. The reason being is because it causes problems in the type of nature that is out here right now. Then you get hurt. While you're hurt, we're now dealing with your pain that you can't get over with because we went the route that you're speaking of, which some people call callous, which some people call incompassionate. And then when we find you guys and you've been hurt again because a person did leave you alone, abandon you, all of the things, issues that you're having that are now amplified because we're just basically doing the same thing that hurt you in the first place. And now you are giving advice to, because you became popular, successful, etc. Now you're giving advice to a lot of folks and they're following your lead and you haven't even been addressed yet. There aren't a lot of Preciouses out there. Precious? Well, I'm just trying to share this with you.
You do have a savior complex then.
You have a savior.
You're trying to save the community.
Well, guess what? I'll embrace that. I'll embrace that.
Well, hold on for a second. Hold on for a second, because I hear what you're saying a little bit, and back to what Cam's saying, what you're saying. We got to put this degree. You can't have so many degrees of freedom in this conversation because you're not going to get anywhere. How you talk to a woman who's just your friend, or a woman that you're just trying to smash, or a woman that you want to have a relationship, it's going to vary. They're not the same.
Of course.
Okay, so yeah, but that's why we got to bound this conversation, right? So if you want, if you have a girl that's a friend of yours, you might be a little bit more free to say the things harshly or whatever, because you know that she could take it because she's not going to take it personal because that connection ain't there. A chick that you want to smash, you're going to talk to her a little bit different because you want to smash.
Let me interrupt you real quick right there. I need to interrupt you for a purpose. No, I need to interrupt you for a purpose. The purpose is that I've never been in a situation where I just want to smash, and that's part of the problem with us men. And that's part of. Listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Right, but what I'm saying is generally we are perpetuators of the problem because we keep that mentality of just wanting to smash instead of addressing. You should have
wait a minute,
more.
man. Okay, you got your point across.
This is my savior contract.
Let me finish. You
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Personal. Let me tell you. In truth, every heterosexual, healthy man wants to smash a woman. That's our nature. That's a God-given thing, and that God gave us a nature to
and
want to.
I'm a heterosexual male, and I'm sharing with you that I don't just
you want to smash. I mean, you better want to add some little adjectives and shit to it. But every man wants sex from a woman. I mean, we got to stop apologizing for that. Now, how we go about it? Wait a minute, Sean. How we go about it? I would agree with you, right? Some guys are cads about it, but let's stop acting like, as men, we don't want to smash the honeys. That's what we're here for, you know. So we shouldn't apologize for that.
Hey, I'm not saying that we don't want to smash. I'm saying I don't just want to smash, and that just is the point. Is the point of view. And the reason why I'm saying that is because how you can.
But you want to. The reason why I'm saying that is because
how you condone. Well, how you condoning the situation.
So you want to act like everybody got to fit in this rigid box that you're talking about. When I say men want to smash,
I'm saying that it causes more problems.
No, it doesn't.
What happens, Sean, is okay, you don't just want to smash, right? You want to have these relationships with women. What causes the problem is you trying to spread yourself thin against women, and that's what causes them, again, like I said before, women, you give these women this emotional crutch, and you stay their emotional crutch, and they come to you for advice, and they come to you for the truth, and they come to you for X, Y, and Z. If you continue to be there and they're not adhering to your guidance, leadership, truth, whatever you want to call it, but you're still there for them, you are enabling them, and then you're spreading yourself thin, and you're continuing to say the same thing over and over and over again. They continue to still deal with the bad boy, or deal with Pookie, or deal with Ray Ray, or have sex and have all these babies, and you're like, no, you shouldn't do that. And you don't just want to smash, you want to be their friend. Sometimes you got to let them to their own vices. You have to let them do what they want to do and not feel bad that you were letting your hand off of it. That is something,
and that's my point. I do that often
in a therapist's office. That's something that's learned in a psychology class. That's something that's learned through books and reading and things of that nature, because that hinders you from growing. That hinders you from getting ahead. That hinders you from having healthy relationships, trying to hold on to people who don't really want to be helped, who don't really want to be better for themselves. If they don't want to be better for themselves, there's nothing you can do, nothing you can say, no amount of time, attention, space, anything that you can give them to make them change. And so you have to cut that cord. And sometimes cutting the cord is actually what makes people change.
Precious. I realize that.
They'll be thanking you without actually having to say thank you to your face. Sometimes that happens with people, and you see them go off to do good and great things, and you say, you know what, God, thank you for allowing me to be a vessel. I appreciate that they were able to learn a lesson. If it had to take for me walking away, and sometimes, again, like I said, it takes to be broken it takes for that discomfort. It takes to be uncomfortable, to grow, to be healthy. But everybody want to stay in that uncomfortableness. Don't nobody want to break out of the hurt and the pain and the things that's been having them bound. You gotta let those people go. You gotta let them go. You gotta let them do what they're gonna do, and stop wasting your breath.
We do. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to get to the degrees, getting to the degrees, because he had talked about the friend you could talk to in a particular way versus the wife, and of course we do that. I wanted just to narrow those degrees. With that, it's weird. Though I agree with you, because you can just say that that's my friend. My friend understands and appreciates me. If I always have to talk to my wife and she doesn't quite understand, to me that would be kind of limiting. Of course, there's times, of course, I'm going to care for her in a different way, in a more intense way. But I feel like I should be able to just say, I feel like she's the ultimate friend, and in the sense, yeah. So I should be able to be flippant and stuff like that. And I think sometimes that's the part where it's like kind of like like I said, I'm generally a straight shooter. If I'm on these platforms, I'm decent enough with words to be able to not say what I, but when I'm here just talking with you, my mouth's reckless. Like, it's like, but you know that I come from a good place. And I think sometimes it's just weird. Like, why is this person who I'm supposed to be trying to spend the rest of my life with or a significant amount of time? Why do I have to, is it necessary to be so particular about sometimes how I place things? And I know you have to know your person, but it seems like it's sometimes hard.
Let me ask you a question though, Cam. How much does it cost you to be that cautious? How much more of your emotional intelligence or your emotional currency does it cost for you to have that caution with your woman? I mean, how much, what's the fee for that?
No, so that's the thing. So I don't think it's a huge fee. It's just that it's such a foreign culture to me, I think sometimes. And that's why it's like, because when I say something, I think this is a part where it's like, people like me, I think, because I'm different and I'm special, but then it's like, I don't know how to maneuver and walk sometimes the new people. Like I said, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But there's a lot of women who will say something and then they don't mean what they say, which I know now, but at the same time, it's like, you have to handle them. Like, there's things that happen like within social media where it's like, oh, I thought why would you block someone if you ain't got a problem with them? But they use tactics about like, I'm going to block you because I don't have self-control to be able to do that. Or I'm going to block you so that you can see I blocked you. So there's a lot of this new nuance that I feel like I was supposed to be raised, like I was supposed to be born in the 60s or the 50s or something like that. I'm very traditional when it comes to stuff. So
I think you hit hit it right on the head when you said it's foreign. And that's exactly why God calls men to love women, because he knew it would be a task for y'all. He knew, and we're supposed to respect y'all. And naturally, we love you first, right? We want to love you first. We don't want to respect you first. We want to love you first. And so that's why he called us to do the things that we're doing, because he knew it would be a work in us. We would have to change ourselves. We would have to kind of come out of ourselves and not change your nature. Again, you don't want to change your nature, but there are certain things that you're just used to doing. Cam is just used to waking up, interacting with people, telling the truth, being a straight shooter. And God is trying to perfect us in some type of way to say, hey, if you're going to deal with this person, this is going to be your person. I'm going to need you to love her. And if you're going to love her, it's going to take a little bit more than what you're used to. It's going to feel foreign to you because that's not what you're used to. It's easy for you to go with your bros, dap them up. Y'all not really have to talk much. Y'all don't really talk about your feelings. Y'all could ball, y'all could go eat, y'all could do a lot of things and not really have to get in the depths of things. But when you get with a woman, it's different. It's a little bit more foreign. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation, because it helps with bringing that out of men and really showing men that it's not just a black and white. You do have to work in a gray. And I'm a black and white person. I have issues working in a gray a lot. And so I think that men are black and white and they have issues working in a gray. So a lot of women are able to work in a gray and they can't do just the black and white. So I think this conversation is important.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so to add to your thing, like I've been married before and we were pretty decent in that areas. The areas that that caused the end of the relationship was other stuff. But it was like the community, it was cool, but she seemed to be a little bit more traditional. Now that we're dealing with a more non-traditional woman, like you said, that foreignness, it seems like it's gone up a level of complexity. And I think that's the part where it's kind of like, oh, okay, so she's already foreign. I already got to do this, but I'm kind of acquainted with that. But like dealing with some of the women who are a lot more like they don't come from where I come from. It's like I said, it's almost like I got to study like for real, just to even have a level of engagement with them. That's cool. Cause sometimes I run across stuff and I like, how did that happen? I thought everything was going good. And then it just went left. And it could be some mental health issues too.
You do have to study, because it says dwell with them in knowledge. So if this is a person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, then you are going to have to study them. You're going to have to get to know them. You're going to have to know those nuances that, just seem like they're inconvenience right now. Hi, Coach Ferg. How are you this evening?
What's going on?
Hello, Mr. Real Precious. How you doing? What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
All right.
Man, I walked in on something really deep, man. I mean, our brain over here booming and stuff. It's interesting when I hear the young men talk, as far as even within the topic, you know, do the woman you want exist? It all depends on how, like she just explained, how hard you willing to work for it when you get to that state of mind where you feel like you're ready for that woman to be in your life. And that means you may have to put on your little sack, like since we we go to the reference to buy, you know how they used to go back in the day with their little muffin sack on their back and their little stick. You might have to take that part of your life and start moving in that direction. You seem to beat up in your neighborhoods, in your high schools. You saw everybody just sort of well out of control, and you trying to maintain control. You have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and your normal and go be a man that you design in your head and that you read in the book. You know the good things to do and the bad things. Stay away from people who give you those bad triggers. They're not your friends ever. Especially if you know people growing up, you know women that didn't move a certain way. You got to look for the total opposite. You have to be building yourself along the way. You know, you want to be a righteous man, have a righteous life. Especially if you already did some crazy stuff before and you want it to change, you have to be disciplined for yourself. I was just talking about this with me and my wife. We live off of $15 a day. Are you willing to live off of $15 a day? Do you understand the meaning in that? That means she does her role, and I make sure everything in the house is taken care of. Everything outside, that's me. Anything dealing with car, that's me. She got her vacuum cleaners. I get all the stuff she needs to keep it clean. Bleach, again, Dawn dishwashing detergent. I do all that. She ain't got to do nothing but pour it in the device. That's it. But that's how I like to move. But you as a person in a woman in a relationship, once you start standing in the man you want to be, that's the type of woman you only approach. And it may take you to go 10 tries to get that one woman. Because think about it, you might find 3 women in your life that you could possibly marry, looking back over your life. 2 of them you was messing around, you wasn't ready. Now you got to work for this last one. But it depends on what you want. Because when you dating, I'm going to tell you, when you dating, you really tricking off a whole lot of extra money. You're not investing it. I'm serious, you just tricking off money. But it ain't going to be easy, especially when y'all get in your 30s. Y'all be mad. All y'all be mad. The girls be mad. The boys be mad. What y'all fighting for? That's just me, man. You know, it's too complicated for y'all young folk. I don't understand. And it's just relationships. You single, brother Cam? Are you single?
No. And that's what you were talking about is complicated. And I think that's the part where it's like being so simple. I think sometimes people think it's like, especially like the young women, I've literally came across young women and it's almost like, do you want to fail? Because it really doesn't have to be that difficult. But like I said, you come from a place where you never had nothing good. And so when you see good in your face, you think I'm trying to scam you, trying to be on some Tinder swindler type stuff, you know, like it's like you said, there's just the pot of young ladies, whatever like that. It's just more of them and there's less high quality ones because they didn't have the training. And so like I said, I'm shooting for a particular one.
This is why I push back. How do you know they didn't have the training?
I know them by their fruits. I'm looking at them. I'm like, you don't move like you should be moving.
So the type of woman that you like, does it help? Do you look at her body first? Of course, you like the figure, right?
I mean, it's
like,
cool. I mean,
the reason why I'm asking, I'm gonna get off of it. It seems like you're a different type of guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. When I look, just keeping it funky is like, of course, there is a physical attraction, but I want to know that you have something to you. So like you actually have some type of purpose, or you move with kindness and virtuousness. So like I tend to pick, I think, decent, more traditional women, but they're traditional in shell. But there's a lot of internal stuff. I think that sometimes, like once I start talking to them, it's like, man, you got some work to do. And though I can kind of guide you a little bit, you still never really had a man in your life. So it's kind of hard for you to take some of the direction that I'm giving you. And it's like, I know that I'm trained how I'm trained. Like I said, I come correct. I'd have that kind of stuff, but they still can never really follow me because, like you said, I got to do this a couple times. So I understand like the 10 times and I might find, the one, but it's like, it's just getting more daunting because the sifting is more intense. That's really what it is. So I look at the looks, but I look kind of more at the character. That's kind of the big thing for me. And I like black women, so.
Brother, I say you should go to all the libraries in your town.
Oh, I live at libraries, yeah, so I'm already on.
You got to look for your woman there in the libraries.
Yeah.
That's where she's at. She's not outside. She's in the library.
Yeah, I try to go all the spots. Yeah, so I'm on it. You know, I'm out here. I'm hunting.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, another thing though, if you're out there hunting, and this is the sign of the times, and the what people, the social media life that most people are living, depending on their age. I mean, how much grace do you give them? You know what I'm saying? Are you looking for perfection, or are you looking for somebody who wants to be in a relationship? Because that matters. But, you know, not just you, but the fact is, I think a lot of times, if you have to pull somebody towards you, that's when it's difficult. But when a person's moving towards you and you moving towards them, then to me, that signifies that there may be some correction that you're both are willing to do. Like I would ask a woman today, do you have a roster? I would ask them straight up. I'm serious. I mean, if you want a relationship,
do you believe you're single, or is there anyone out there that believes they're in a relationship with you?
I'm single. I am single. I do have a rotation, but it's
there you go. Yeah, but she got some nerves.
Thank you. Thank you for your
honesty. I just gotta be honest because it's gonna come out eventually. So
the truth of the matter is, she's probably got a roster too. But the point is, I would have threw that right back at her. But the fact, because I looked at her, she got a roster. So the fact is, that's the kind of thing I think men are worried about. Am I gonna spend some time in you, and you're gonna make me wait, or you're gonna do shit for me that I gotta pay some price, and somebody else is just banging it out for free? So I mean, she may lie. Or she may not, but it's a question that needs to be asked. And she could ask you back, do you have a roster? And you can say, you know, if you do, say, yeah, I got a couple of ladies I'm checking out. If you don't, say no. I'm looking for somebody. I'm looking for somebody to be. I don't think those are the conversations that don't have. Now, a person could lie, but you don't know if it's a lie unless you put it out there. So we assume a lot from each other. And I think that's the mistake. You know, that's the hard conversation. Hey, you want to be with me?
Somebody has a roster, their attention is just not on you. You could tell when someone is not into you totally. You could tell as a woman, I can tell when a man is not just into me and he has a roster, and I don't have to ask him. I don't have to ask him.
Well, men gotta ask. Women are allowed.
I'll push back on that. I'm gonna push back on that. Okay, so I would say, as far as today and knowing things, I think a lot of times people are more distracted than anything else. So sometimes, like I said, I could be talking and having my disrupted attention. It's really like you, but my attention is disrupted just because that's just how I live. Everybody got ADHD in terms of like they're just attention distracted. So it literally takes you actually, like, I've had to do some really creative things. I think that's why a lot of the women like me, especially in the initial part, is that I'll do really creative things to capture attention, because I know that if I don't do anything like that, how am I going to stand out from the bunch, right? So you could have things going on, or you could even have work. I mean, it doesn't even have to be another dude. But those are the things where I'm kind of learning to navigate, where it's like where to go and where not to go. Like back 30 years ago, did I have to ask if you had a roster? Like, these are new things. These are new things that we got to ask now, just because it's like, oh, you're always on these trips. Who pays for your trips? Do you have a sugar daddy? Do you like? It's just weird things that we have to pay attention to now that we didn't when it was just, I was in the church with you, so I saw you every other day, or we went to the same school, so I knew you talked to Mike, you talked to this dude, and now you're free. You know, like, it's just a little bit more complex. You know,
30 years ago, and I don't know if our page, I can think he would agree. 30 years ago, we would at least ask the girl, hey, are you talking to anybody else? Do you have a boyfriend? Today, it's a little different because people got the roster, but you just ask the question because you never know.
I don't think I've never had a man ask me if am I talking to anybody else? And I feel
Because
like
a man
you don't even come across like that.
But a man don't care when you look good. I'm telling you, he don't care if you, because he feel like he can be that man. Well, whoever you talking to, if a man like you and I pull up on you, you're gonna forget about those other dudes and you're gonna be focused on me. I don't need that.
Yeah, but it depends on what you want to do with it.
Locking it down, I'm not going to be focused. See, that's another thing. Like, a lot of men think that they could come around and be like, "Oh, I'm the one, and I could do this and I could do that." Well, if we not headed in the same direction, and if you don't want what I want, then I'm cutting you off, and that's just me. Like, you know, and I think a lot of dudes are like, "Oh, she cut me off. How could I get cut off?" And because you got cut off. If we're not on the same paths and we don't want the same things, I'm cutting you off. I'm not wasting my time. For what? I don't need friends. I don't need more people to text. I barely want to pick up my phone now. Okay, I don't need the extras. So if you're not going to be the main, I don't need extras. I don't need that. But maybe men are like that. I don't know. Maybe y'all need the extras.
Well, again, Precious, you are precious.
You're precious.
And you don't always realize that, and we bring it to your attention almost weekly. You are precious. There aren't a lot of preciouses out there. And we commend you for that, and we recognize it, and you might not recognize it, but we recognize it a mile away. We are trying to figure out why you are not married. That's what we're trying to figure out, because you are very precious, and we all realize it.
I don't want to be married in 2024.
So
I don't want to be married in 2024, or maybe I'm not going where the men who want to be married are.
I would. So this is what I would say, kind of like Precious. I would say it would probably be a similar thing. Is that it's like the quality and just the nature of culture right now does not promote unity, you know? And so because of that, you have to really work harder, because I've met a couple women who are like dope souls, like I said, good bones, whatever like that, but they still had holes where it's like, dang, there was just a fatal flaw there. We could have been cool, but there was just a fatal flaw there. And it's like, I can't really get past that thing. Like I said, I want to pay the fee, but it's like, I don't got the hard money to go and like fix this thing up. Like,
Can you give an example of this?
Oh yeah, I'll give you an example. So there was one girl I was talking to, and she cool, we vibed in a lot of particular capacities, but she would always talk about me having like female friends, and I was like, okay, like why does this keep on coming up? And so I asked her, and like we would talk like, you know, every day for like maybe like 2 weeks, and she would always bring up this thing. It was almost like this was such a sticking point.
Oh, damn. Every time you get to a point.
Cam, we love you. Cam, come on, Cam, finish it up. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. You guys went blank. You went blank. Okay. So we were talking, but it kept on coming up. Like every conversation, we'd be having great conversations, and every time I would come up with she's like, so you talk to her every day? And I said, yeah, this is my friend. So mind you, I'm a little bit different. And for her, basically, it came out that she's had a situation where some guy was lying to her about something. He was cheating, of course, and that kind of devastated her. And I said, why is it such a big deal? Is it because of that trauma? And she's like, well, I'm guessing, yeah. And I'm like, well, I can't exist in a life where I would have to change for you in that capacity all the time, because now you're affecting my ministry. You're affecting like the things that I do. I've probably had sex with less people than you. I probably had, you know, I'm more disciplined. I'm probably more, you know, I'm probably more value driven than you are. So for you to be so concerned and stepping in this particular path, and we have all this other good stuff over here, I don't think I could be with you, because that's always going to be a sticking point until you heal from that. So like I said, it'll be things like she was dope in a lot of ways in the same direction, but she had to heal that first. And I'm like, I'm not going to walk on eggshells around you or not talk to my friend because you think that I'm going to go, if I want to do dirt, I'm going to do dirt.
The issue for a lot of women, I always tell women, don't be worried about the next woman. Like I think women think about things they think about things that they shouldn't think about, and then they go down a spiral that you didn't even, you know, cause them to really go down. And so I can see what you were saying earlier, how it's like a their problem and not necessarily a you problem. I mean, if you do want to be with this woman and they were a serious candidate for you, then you naturally would change your behavior. You naturally would do that. You wouldn't feel like you are forced to do this, or you were, you know, and I don't know what you got going on every day and who you have to talk to every day and things of that nature. But woman that you want, and that the woman that you like and really love and plan to be with for the rest of your life, you'll naturally change certain things to adhere.
Not good advice. Not good advice.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I would say probably not at this point for two reasons is that though there are some people I've really liked, I'm here to lead you to a better place, lead us to a better place. I can take advice from you and I can do that kind of stuff, but ultimately I can't let you dictate my life. I can change things for you. We can come together, but I can't do that. And so that's why
women are dictating your life. You the man. Y'all
yeah, exactly. And so yeah.
But I think that naturally that you would, and I don't mean everything. I just mean that there are certain things that men naturally do when they like women,
and they fail in relationships often.
Sean,
and reason being,
you got the savior complex, Sean. But
I already embrace that. But the point is, the reason why I say that is because it becomes a rotating cycle of issues. That's why when I brought it up, you're right. I do have to say, if that's what you want to call it, because when Payne was talking about guys talking about, oh, well, we need, I'm like, nah, that's part of our problem is that we condone that everybody want to have sex. Yes, but you shouldn't want to have sex with everybody, or even if you want to have sex, you should be disciplined enough to know whether you should or you shouldn't, whether it's going to be a headache or whether it's going to be something that is going to be fulfilling. And if you don't have that discipline, you're the problem. But we keep on saying, okay, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. And then
Sean, you mischaracterizing it. I'm saying what's natural. I didn't say thick discipline is consequence driven. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean we don't have the nature to smash.
But my point being is when you are using the terminology of just wanting to smash and you're not checking
wanting to smash. You said that.
That didn't come out your mouth. Wait.
We got
two other people. Wait.
You extrapolate my words.
Wait. Payne. Precious and Cam. Wait, Precious and Cam. Did he say or not that people just want to smash?
I didn't say people just.
It's in a man's nature to initially want to have sex with a woman. Until
I understand, but did he use the word "just want to smash"? I want you to go back because he literally used that word.
No, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand where he keeps going.
Hold on. We don't have to go down this thing. We can move on because I said in 3 scenarios: there's women you want to be friends with, there's women you just want to smash. And there's women you want to have a relationship with. I didn't say.
And what did I say?
You got to put things in context.
And what did I say? And what did I say?
You went down this road in this context of what I said. The conversation doesn't need to be had.
Thank you, Coach.
I mean, but here's I'm gonna let you go. I hear you, Sean, but I wanted to ask Cam one question about when he told a chick that, yo, you probably have more men than I had women. What did she say to that?
Oh, well, okay. So this is the thing you guys got to understand with me. One day, Precious and I'll have the thing is that I said, I think that was probably the 4th conversation in, and we still had conversations after that. I said, you keep on bringing up this particular thing. And when I said that, I said, did you not have more than X amount of partners? Because I've had a very few amount of partners. Just because I think sex is a very, because of my background and upbringing, it's a particular thing. And I said, so then why would you think that I would have that problem or that issue? And then she kept on bringing up whatever. So no, so she just knew it was the truth that I was telling. So I don't think in the context in which I said it, because like I said, I know how to put things together. I said, to be honest, she didn't say anything. She was pretty much like, yeah. And she acknowledged, and I was like, okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. So with that being the case, she didn't really it kind of brushed past it. To be honest, I think it kind of hurt her probably afterwards, because I've noticed that when you have those conversations, people will think about it later and bring it up in other conversations. But no, she didn't say anything. She kind of acknowledged it.
Because it's true, it's true. But anyway, I just wanted to, that's an interesting thing. And that you called what she has, her projection. That's her projection and her fear that if you're a man, you're going to be smashing the women that you're around. And that's a lot of women think that about women, right? That's why she was worried about that. But let's just reverse this thing. If you have a woman that you're in love with, you're not necessarily that sanguine about her having a bunch of male friends, no matter what she says to you.
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Continue. Oh, okay. No. So I say this. And I was trying to. I know it was a foreign idea because, like I said, we're not taught like this. I said, I'm in a relationship with you. like, and that's what I was saying. Like, I'm in a relationship with you. What you decide to do and not decide to do is based upon that. As far as you having friends that are males, as long as we both understand, like you said, most men are not just going to be your friends. You probably have 1 in 10 men that could be your friend and never have any type of sexual relationship with you. So as long as you understand that fact and you can draw those boundaries, then you can go and move along about the world. I'm not tripping on you. I used to go out of town a lot, and my ex-wife wouldn't even know sometimes where I went because she just knew the character of who I am. So she didn't even know. So sometimes she was like, I think he's either in Detroit or he's in Atlanta. And people were like, how do you not know? Because they lived in a place where there was like no real trust within the relationship. Same thing with her. It was like, you can do what you want to do until we got to a point where I realized, oh, you can't do that. That was actually the reason why our relationship was actually. Say again?
She didn't have the discipline that you had.
Well, yeah, well, because of, as I learned later on, which I probably should have been in marriage counseling prior to, I started realizing like, oh, you aren't as simple. You don't come from the same place. You have a lot more to you. And so she actually had committed an infidelity. So that's really the main breaking point of our relationship was that you were doing something. Mind you, I saw it while it was happening. And I was like, oh, but I had to, of course, gather evidence and stuff like that. That was why we broke up. But ultimately, it was like, you can't do what I can do because you're not real with yourself about the level of discipline that you got. So so that's how that worked. But
I'm gonna push back on that. You was being You was being selfish.
How?
Okay, one, you were married and you were putting your family in an uncomfortable position because your safety matters too. You just going all off, not saying telling nobody where you at. What is
no. I was listening. I would tell her. She just wouldn't. It's just that I would move so much. So no, it wasn't. No, she always knew where I was at, but she was like at the time because I traveled so much. So no, she knew where I was at. Everything was together. It was just a matter of like I moved so much. She's like, I think he's in Detroit. I could go check my phone, but she wasn't.
Were you traveling for work or just leisure and pleasure?
Oh no, it's mostly work.
Oh well, that's different. If you're working, that's different. But if you I wouldn't recommend no man doing that. You can't, if she's your wife and she's committed to you, you can't leave her in that capacity just to go have some fun and hang out with some dudes. You know what I'm saying? But work is different. If you got to work out outside the home and traveling around states, that's different. But then you have to have the discipline also. And when you come home, you just got to be the family man. You can't come home and hang out, just you and the family. I mean, it's just
Coach, you're absolutely right. I kind of thought that's what he was saying from the standpoint of where he was speaking from, that he was work related and he was being very genuine about and transparent and open about where he was going. I just think that what he didn't realize is that she didn't really she didn't really have trust in him because she had those who can't trust can't be trusted. She had trust issues from her past, from what he's describing. So I understood that. And the point that I wanted to make before I ran off or missed it was Pain. The point that I was making earlier is what he just said in reference to we sometimes, because we are just out to smash, the times those women that he was talking about that is having an issue because men had trampled over her is simply because that's something that we condone in our society as men. And we just say, oh, well, that's just what men do. And I'm like, yo, we need to check ourselves and stop condoning that nonsense. Stop just wanting to smash just to smash. And if you do want to smash, be honest about it to be able to see what you can smash. But people don't do that. And we perpetuate it. And then we have all of these women out here who get hurt by those type of men because we don't check those men as men.
Stop it, man. You keep taking agency away from women. That's just crazy, man. You know, men,
you're right, because we're leaders, because we want to be leaders in one voice, and then in the other voice, we don't want to be.
Everything, man. Men don't control. You tell me how you control a woman's womb, Sean.
First off, who said control it? I'm controlling my word, and I'm answering you. I control my. Listen.
How do you control a woman's womb?
Listen.
No. I'm gonna listen to you.
Okay. First off, I never tried to control a woman's womb. I tried to
You just
control.
gave me a whole
I'm
lot of
controlling
bullshit,
my.
man.
I'm controlling my mouth and my tendencies, and I'm asking men to do more of that. And when men don't sit there and do that,
Listen, man, men
right? But when men don't do that,
no, that's just ridiculous, man. You're sitting there trying to take agency away from women. I mean, it's their body.
No. I'm putting responsibility on the.
You take responsibility for yourself.
I do. And I lead by example. So my point is that I still, when in fact men sit there and tell me the things that you're telling me, I put the responsibility and agency on them. You can do better. You can do better, sir. Not you, because you're 30. You're 36. You're 37 years.
I
Right.
just did a whole live on the consequences of men. That discipline is consequence driven. The more you recognize the consequences of your actions, the more discipline you'll have. But the scenario still stays the same. That a man will take sex from a woman any way she gives it, for the most part. And I have a simple scenario, and it's true. If you coveted a woman and you're right in the thick of things, you're getting ready to have sex, and you want to put on a condom, you stop to put your condom on, and she says, "Wait, what are you doing? I want this raw." Give me the percentage of men who are going to put their clothes on and go home, or tell the lady, "Let me call you an Uber. We're not having sex tonight." Give me the percentage of men who are going to face that consequence, or they're going to dive in and try to do the pullout game. I mean, give me I just want somebody to give me the percentage of men.
I'll give you.
Okay. Let me ask you that. The percentage is very significant, probably close to 90 or above. And that's part of the problem. The percentage. No, the percentage that's not going to walk away.
That's right.
And that's the problem that I'm speaking to.
Not the problem.
Is that's the problem. Okay, this is where we have our difference, and not why we're sitting here going back and forth. It's because you don't feel it's a problem, and I do. Again, that's why we have our differences, because you feel it's not a problem that 90% of the men don't have discipline.
No,
but yet you said you're talking about it, but yet that's a lack of discipline. That's what it is.
So real quick, I was going to say to answer the question is, I'm on a couple of different Facebook groups that I'm moderating for, and also just kind of looking into society. I am seeing that number change and actually go down. And the reason why I'm seeing that actually going down, and it's actually going down significantly, is that I think people are. Say it again. I think that's actually going down because people are starting to understand the significance of so the significance of the consequences, of course, in physical, like actual terms, because they're actually seeing, like, man, going to family court and child court. Like, if you've ever been in family court, crap, I'm in it right now, and you just see, like, man, this is really, like, for all the stuff that happened. I mean, me personally, I'll do it for the next 3 years because I love my son. But just to go through all that for that situation, and then also emotionally, I think men are also starting to realize and appreciate that, like, a lot of the women aren't here for you. They don't really care about you. They care about the image and the relationship. So men, I think the number is going down, and so there is more discipline that is occurring. So that is one thing I am appreciative of, is that life is about choices and trade-offs. And I think the pendulum is starting to swing back in the direction where we're finding more balance.
When you say significantly, it still ain't that much. And
no, it's still not that much. But
here's what you're saying, man. You're saying that men are starting to understand the consequences of their actions. Yeah. And that's why dick discipline is directly proportional to understanding the consequences of opening that door.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. But your natural inclination is to accept sex from women. That's what we do.
That's why it's called discipline.
But Sean,
That's why it's called discipline.
Sean.
Because you have a lot of natural natures that you might want to naturally react and hurt somebody, but you don't do it because you're disciplined and you don't want to
stay on sex. Let's just stay on sexuality.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
the thing that gives you
In our
discipline
community,
is understanding the consequences.
Yes, and in our community, the unfortunate thing about the Black community, from what I've seen working in the inner cities, is that everything you're talking about is a learned behavior. A boy can be taught that before he reach, even young ladies can be taught that before they reach puberty. But instead, we promote it within our living culture. They see adults actually damn near sexing each other in the streets. They see, a whole, it's like a sexual market it's like the strip club life came to the streets and the jailhouse uniform came to the streets over the last 30 years.
Ooh, coach.
There's no difference in the young man, how they operate, move. But I think young man, to Cam's point, young men are starting to see that the adults around them have them for no good for them, and they're going to take their own path. I just hope that once they look at everything as a 360, that they look at one of the most dynamic things that can happen to their lives to break the generational curse is, one, stop listening to people that say education ain't for everybody. Stop looking for people to say you only live once. Stop listening to people say everybody ain't made to get married. I think if you really want to set your stable early, especially going in this overinflated market that a lot of older adults can't survive in, if you're going to do it, get married. If not, be single, stay in shape, save your fucking money, stop being a consumer. You should be in the best shape in your life as a young man between 20 and 40, and you ain't got no kids. If you ain't getting, listen, a boxer's greatest strength was not having sex while he was training. If you ain't getting no sex, your ass should be picking cars up for a living. That's how strong you should be. But if you don't want to do that, at some point you're going to age out and get gray like me. And just because you can make a demand, listen, women get smarter too. You got to understand that a woman in her 40s, she going to make sure all the money's coming to the house. But you got to be doing that. But you got to have a conversation. Y'all don't have a conversation.
I understand now why you are the coach, because you just hit a lot of great points and actually lend to some of the points that I was making. And all I was saying, Payne, is you are a very significant man that I respect for a lot of reasons. Specifically, you have 37 years of marriage. I respect that wholeheartedly. What I'm sharing with you is that as you are it's kind of like saying it's okay to have that nature. And I'm like, yo, I understand we have the nature, but let's stop saying that it's just natural and this is what it's supposed to be, because that's what continues and why we continue to run into this cycle. And I'm like, yo, and I get tired of hearing men not recognizing it because of whatever reasons, similar to what Coach just said. I know 5-year-olds. I was a 5-year-old that knew what sex was. So I'm not sitting here trying to say something that's impossible. I'm just saying, like, yo, it's part of the problem when we don't address it, when we act like it's normal, or when we act like we should be okay with it. I know it's natural.
See, one of the things that you keep conflating is okay with natural. I'm saying for a man to tell another man don't have sex, it's like saying just say no to drugs. You got to tell them, what? Wait a minute. Just wait a second. Before you just keep talking, I'm saying if you're going to have the conversation, you have to have the full conversation. You got to say why they should be reticent to have sex. You got to tell them why opening that door with a woman, it could be a trap door with consequences on the end. It's the consequences that matter. It's the consequences that should be the discussion, not telling a man to go against his nature. That's crazy. This is
Okay,
like,
so this is
wait
what
a minute, Sean. You keep talking. You ain't listening. You want to say
I'm
what you
listening
want to
very
say.
clearly, but you
Wait a
said
minute,
that
man.
but you
Wait a
sharing
second.
not the,
Wait a second.
you're repeating
You know,
yourself.
so
Go ahead.
you repeated yourself because you keep adding shit that I didn't say. It's like when the Catholic Church told the priest that you can't have a woman, you can't get married. And then the buttholes of a lot of boys started looking good. You know, you can't tell people to go against their nature. They should, in order to tell a priest to give away his sexuality, they have to have years of counseling to be able to handle that. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just tell a man to turn that shit off. You can't tell a woman to turn it off. You got to tell them about the consequences that matter. And that's why I said that any dick discipline a man has is directly related to the consequences of his actions. And once they understand the consequence, that's when you can start saying no. Because you're saying, if you go ahead with my natural inclination, this is what could happen with this particular woman. And there's a nuance that you keep missing. But I'm not going to tell a young man who's 18 to 30 that you don't have sex. That's stupid. I mean, that's not a good conversation. You know, and then to take agency away from women, you know what the strongest power a woman had over a man was saying no. Was just saying no, you can't have this. And matter of fact, in the courtroom, every courtroom in this country, if a man takes it without her saying yes, her abdication of her womb, he's going to jail. Everywhere. If it's true in the courtroom, it should be true in the bedroom. If she says, you know what, you ain't getting none of this, a guy on his grind is supposed to take that and go home. Don't take it.
I hear what you're saying.
You know, so
I hear what you're saying.
So we can't
I hear what you're saying, but this
away
is
from women, man.
This
you
is
don't
the
hear what
a
I'm saying.
man.
You want to keep
Pain.
understanding that
A man can say no. A man can say no and stop saying that he can't.
I didn't
A
say
man can say no. Okay.
Just dumb shit. I didn't say that. We could end the conversation.
A little bit. All right, we're going to do final thoughts. Getting late. I got to get up early. But this has been a great conversation. I appreciate all who have joined. Hink has dropped off early. I appreciate him. Cam, Coach Ferg, thank you so much. Sean and R. Payne, I appreciate you guys. We're going to get into the final thoughts. Thank you, Darnell, for the Cash App. I'm not quite sure if I shouted that out earlier, but I appreciate you. So we're going to do final thoughts, and we're going to start with Sean, go over to Cam, go over to Coach Ferg, and then we're going to move to Art Payne. We're going to close it out. Final thoughts. Sean.
Okay, my final thoughts is pain. You goddamn pain. No, I'm just joking. Oh man, I hear what you're saying, Pain, and I still push back a bit because, like you said, we can't have agency over women. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's why I'm putting more responsibility on men, which I think sometimes we gloss over because it's our tendencies and because of our and us wanting to condone that we it's okay to not be disciplined in your nature. And I'm not conflating anything. I'm just saying it in other words. I'm not trying to change your words. You go right back to it. You say a man should be able, and I'm like, yo, if I'm gonna tell an 18-year-old like I tell a 68-year-old like I tell a 58-year-old, you can say no. To the point that reason why it was such a high capacity when you asked about how much because you gave the example of somebody putting on a condom in the middle of already being there. What I'm saying is don't be there already, because the you changing your mind in the middle of a downstroke because she's now being responsible. You ain't thinking about being responsible. You going, you right. It's not going to be a low scenario. The point is and why it's changing is because the low scenario comes in getting yourself in that position in the first place. You a king, like they say king this and king that. King is very very cautious and very intentional where he spreads his seed. So we need to stop saying kings if we're not going to live up to it.
Okay.
Because we ain't no kings, because we unintentionally spreading seeds and getting ourselves in those positions and then saying, oh man, it was my nature. You know how, it's my nature to want to have sex. Absolutely. But that don't mean that everybody who come around with ass and titties that I got to be in the bed with them, even though they throwing it at me. Yes, they have thrown it at me. And I did not want to be in the bed with some of them. So just because they got ass and titties that are appealing to me, and I have a conversation and they show me some ghetto fabulous, I'm like, yo, recognize the ghetto fabulous before you go ahead and get persuaded or entranced by them ass and titties. And don't put yourself in a position where in the middle when she's saying, well, put on a condom when you're going on a downstroke, you have to make that choice, because that's going to be a choice that ain't going to be a good one for you. I land there.
You like that scenario? Good.
I'm sorry, I'm visual, so that's hilarious. Okay, so I appreciate the conversation, Precious, as always, and all the contributions by the gentlemen. I think it's just, like you said, just really being with all you're getting, get understanding. And I think that's just really where we have to be at now, or we have to be a lot more astute at picking, because like I said, it's more difficult time. So like really just picking in the best lot is probably going to be better for, people in general, like just finding your village and try to, go amongst them and find the best one there and then commit yourself to that person. That's kind of what I'm seeing, because sifting through all the rest of this stuff, like I said, I'm gonna be in a lot of libraries, symposiums, and a lot of other places looking. So yeah, that's it.
Museums.
Just don't be around any monasteries. There's priests there.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys. Coach Ferg, your final word. Final thought.
Real quick, your message needs to go into the high schools, man. You need to catch them young, because you trying to tell a 35, 30-year-old man that it's going to be a hard swallow for them, man. No, didn't, but
you're right.
Right. So as far as the topic, you know what I'm saying? Does the woman you want exist? Maybe, maybe not. Again, how far are you willing to go on your journey? And it's not just for her. You just going on your journey and your purpose, and the woman for you will appear to you. She will appear to you. Like Art Payne said, she will cleave to you. She will just be trying to be in your space, however weird that may be, however unique it is for you. You just have to be willing to do that. I wouldn't recommend any man between now and, I'll just say, the next 4 years with the Olympics coming here. Hell, get in some good shape, man. Go try out for one of them old events out there, man. The world is coming to America. It's a great opportunity. That's, you know what I'm saying? Is she worth the work? Again, that comes down to you. She will work for you if you showing up in that space, in that head space, and I believe in the physical space. And it's not how you appear to the women. How do you appear to other men in those spaces? That's where the truth lies at. I've always looked at it. How do I compete against my peers? Whether it's education, whether it's strength, whether it's sports, anything within my age group, 4 years older, 4 years younger. How do I compete to them? Cam, you in your 30s? Mm-hmm. I can't compete with you. You have nothing that I want. You know what I'm saying? I can just give you advice, and I'm just using you because I unrecognize your age. So you have nothing I want. I'm working years up past that. I hope that y'all can get to that space. But one, stop being so fucking hard on yourself. Stop wanting to dig into shit too deep that you're not ready for. And stop allowing other people to dictate how you move as a man. You move security, you move financially, and you move independently. Come to other like minds of the knowledge you're trying to seek. So if I'm trying to get another knowledge, I'm not going to talk to my friend that I drank beer with. He don't know nothing about that. I'm going to go to a man that knows it. That's all I'm saying. Because you have to level up. Not saying you. I don't know what you think I'm talking to you. I'm talking to everybody in your age group and younger. This is your time to level up. This is your time, because the world is going to be totally different in the next 4 to 8 years. America is getting ready to clean up the laziness. So anybody trying to be lazy right now, they're going to cut all your benefits off. And if you got a partner, love her, try to make a deal. Get off the streets before you get gray hairs on your private parts is all I got to say. I'm done. Get off the streets.
Eyelashes, not their private. So I'm just kidding.
Man,
thanks, Coach. Our final thoughts.
Great stuff. Great Ferg, man. That's great stuff. Listen, I mean, we all are where we are based on the choices we've made in life. Everybody on this panel, everybody in the audience, everybody in the chat. And the goal is to recognize that where you are based on the choices, and hopefully that you made more good ones than bad ones. And then the bad ones that you made, you have a path to come back from. I used to tell my daughters that, listen, you're going to make mistakes, but just make sure you don't make any you can't come back from, and so that means always remember that there's got to be limits, but you can live your life without fear. So, I believe we should be consequence driven. I don't like the notion of telling people to go against their nature, because this is what, and people keep telling me this, I'm out of touch. I believe that men are men and women are women, and our basic nature is not based on the internet. It's not based on where we are. We have basic natures that are given to us by the grace of God. And I think we fight those things. And when we're outside of our nature, then we behave, then it manifests itself in bad behavior. So I tell men, recognize the fact that you might want to have sex with a woman, yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to, because the consequences of it, might be devastating. And it's as simple as that. But I'm not going to tell a young man that just get on your grind and forget about the women, because it's a bad message, because it's not true. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. So he's not going to have the weapons to understand that little thing on his shoulders telling him this woman ain't for you. That's the consequence talking. And every so often you got to let them know that's who you have to listen to. That's who you have to listen to. I can't. If I open this door to this particular woman, even though I want to, all of these things are happening. And I don't know if I can handle that. If I'm 18 and I get a woman pregnant, she's going to be in my pocket, and the kid's going to be in my pocket for 18 to 21 years. I'll be 40 years old by the time I'm finished paying for child support. That's whether I love the kid or not. Yeah. So those are consequences, and that drives your discipline, not me just telling you not to have sex. I think that's a stupid message to give men. No, and it's not stupid. It's an incomplete message. It's an incomplete message. And the one problem I have is taking agency away from women. They do that enough themselves. We don't have to add to it, right? We always say women don't like accountability, but here we are taking it away from them again. One of the strongest powers the women of my day had was, one, they separated themselves from the 304s purposely. That was one. And two, they all knew how to say no. And when they said no to the right man, that man was willing to do whatever it takes to put a ring on that finger to have that woman. We used to be real possessive like that. But I do believe, based on the topic of the day, I'm going to land it here, that those women still exist. It's just not a lot of them. And some of them don't have fatal flaws. They've just been surrounded by the hyenas too much. So when they start walking towards you, then you challenge that. You challenge it instead of pushing them away. And you might find a gem walking towards you, but you have to be in your own headspace to recognize that. And a lot of men aren't, because, they're also impacted by the time, so it depends on what you want. So I'll just land it there. I believe there's women out there we're fighting for even today, right? Maybe it's because I'm biased, because I think any man will be blessed to marry any one of my daughters, So if that's self-serving, that's true. But man, I got a couple of gems on my hand. So, and that's it, So anyway, I'll land it there. So I know that there's women out there like that. All right.
Thank you, Arlene. Good evening, La Peach.
What's up, La Peach?
Oh, what up? How y'all doing?
Good. You came in on final thoughts, so.
Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's where we at with it. That's where we.
Okay. Well, y'all can ask me a question or something.
I don't know if you've been watching, but the woman you want doesn't exist. Is she worth the work? Do you think the woman you want exists? And if so, is she worth the work?
The woman that you want exists. I think women exist, and That's a possibility. You can have a woman that has a lot of great things that you like about her, but I don't think the perfect woman exists. I do think that with some conversations and a little bit of dating experience, then she may adjust and he may adjust. So I guess it's gonna all come with a discussion. But I don't think the perfect woman exists. I think everybody has some work or things that they can do better, and everybody is different. So whenever you do date somebody, it's like you got to relearn who that person is, and there's going to be some things that's going to be difficult for them to change, and then you got to ask yourself, am I willing to deal with this at this point, or is it even worth it? That's something you got to evaluate. So I think any woman that you date is going to be a new set of learning that you're going to have to do.
Mhm. Okay. So the person, so you think she exists, but there definitely would have to be learning and vetting and things of that nature that needs to take place.
Again, I don't think the perfect woman exists.
No, you threw perfect in there.
Okay.
And what do you want? Does she exist? And if she
Yeah. Like I
She
believe I believe there are some women that are moldable. So if there are some things that you're looking for, and depending on who the man is, women will adjust to what the man is not necessarily looking for. But if she thinks it's not a hard ask, I think that she has no problem adjusting. And then vice versa. I mean, I know some men that may tweak a little things because it may not be a deal breaker for them, or it might not be altering who they are as a man or how they show up and how the world sees them. So it may be some things that he might do. Like he may not be the person to wash dishes on a Friday, but if he rocking with her, then I could see him taking care of them dishes on Friday. So I just think every situation is always a little bit different. You just got to just see what you're working with, and then see if it's a woman that you can rock with. And if so, I think they do exist. It's a lot of women on this world. So to say that she doesn't exist, I'm like, you just probably ain't looking in the right spaces. But there's tons of women out here. You got options. You just got to get out there. And if you're not getting no results or you're not getting no options, then it may be some things you may have to do. You got to work on your strengths. So if you're not a looker, then get in the gym, because you'd be surprised how many women will overlook that ugly ass face you got in order to be able to deal with that body. I had a guy, this guy in college, man, I ain't gonna say that's probably disrespectful, man, but he would say it. He's like, man, I don't look all that, but
Exactly.
women love his body. And he had a body when he first came into college. And he was like a dark-skinned brother, and the women was gravitating to it. So he worked on his strengths. So if you're not getting those options, then you definitely got to double down on your strengths.
Agreed. And like Coach said,
Boy,
I'm going to be picking up cars.
Oh, Precious ready for bed? Okay.
yes, that part. Well, I appreciate you guys joining us for the Real Precious this evening. Like I
I
said,
didn't
it's
get my final thought, but okay.
that was my final thought?
No, that was me responding to the topic.
Were you watching the show?
No, I had a pop-up show that I was asked to do. So I was doing that. I mean, my intention was, but then even when the show was over, it's just the conversation just kept going in the back chat. I'm just like, I gotta go. So I was kept trying to click to listen, and then they was talking, so I was double listening.
It's okay. I didn't mean to cut off your final thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My final thought is, go ahead and get ready for bed. I'm not gonna hold you. I just wanted to just start some shit, but I'm a little disappointed because I thought I came in a little early. I thought y'all was gonna go at least another 30 minutes, but it's all good. Still
No.
wrapping it up.
It's almost 1 here in New Jersey.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. Everybody always talk about an hour ahead. That's unfortunate for y'all. Y'all got to go somewhere like Texas or Chicago or
I
something.
was just in Minneapolis. We were an hour behind. So I've been traveling all day. Like it's just time for me to unwind.
Trying to low key stun on us a little bit.
Getting
Send
ready.
you to the south side, baby.
Gotta slide that in. I've been traveling all over the world.
you know the vibes.
Yeah.
No, it was traveling. It was a good family trip. We had a lot of fun. So I definitely had a good trip. But that Mall of America, the walking, the bike riding. I wanted to go horseback riding, but they didn't have any horses for us to ride. So
Well, you are truly an inspiration, Precious. So I aspire to be able to even have the opportunity to experience some of those things that you named, them activities and horseback riding and Mall of America. But I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm gonna do the work.
I sing it, everybody. Precious. If I could be like Precious, I want to be like Precious.
You're making a jingle.
Well, again, thank you guys. My final thoughts is always and forever will be until the day I die. Be real with yourself so you can be real with others, because that's the only way you're going to build genuine relationships. It's the only way you're going to build healthy relationships, to just be real with yourself. I think a lot of people struggle with that. And I think a lot of people don't have the spaces to be real with themselves and the people to actually be real with themselves. But we're out here. We're out here. Y'all are out here. Y'all are on this panel. Sean, I don't know about him. I don't know. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sean been rocking with me for a long time. When I had my Thirst Trap podcast on Instagram, we did lives and things of that nature. So I appreciate you, Sean. I always like messing with you. But definitely, who's that? Who was that? I know that was you, JR.
Yeah, study.
I know that was JR. Thank you guys so much. Have a great evening and happy Tuesday.
Perfect.
Thank you. Have a great evening too.